Morning, I'm Mike Graham and he's Mike Parry. You're listening to Extra Time. The two mics are keeping you entertained throughout the night. The World Cup final is just 2 days away, and of course it's live right here on TalkSport. Tonight the big news as well is that Arsenal have finally signed a striker. I know some of you are saying he's not a striker, but that's what they want, isn't it? Alexis Sanchez is now a Gooner thanks to Arsene Wenger reaching into his war chest and grabbing £35 million for the deal. Could this be the final piece of the jigsaw for Arsenal? 08717 22 33 44. Coming up on the show, we'll be talking football, friends and fatties. Master Mike Parry has got a foolproof plan to rid this country of its obesity problem. We've also keep taking your calls on the striking teachers and Sports Day, because a lot of sports days should have been going ahead, but of course they couldn't because the teachers didn't turn up for work. 08717 22 33 44. You're listening to Extra Time with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time, and it is time to say a very, very good morning, Mr. Mike Porky Parry. A very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
A very good morning to you, Mike. Great to be here again inside TalkSport Towers. Absolutely looking forward to dealing with the problems that the world have at the moment. If we can help in any way, we should.
Yes, indeed.
I feel we've done a great deal of good in helping people through those difficult times which have been circling around our heads over the last few months as we've got to grips with the...
You're talking about the World Cup, are you? What are you talking about?
Not just the World Cup, mate.
You started that sentence without knowing how it ends.
No, I haven't started that. No, I
have no idea what you're talking about. I want to talk about Germany, because Germany...
No, hang on.
You and I, wait a second, you and I have not seen each other since the semi-final.
Well, that's true.
And, of course, Germany being completely and utterly obliterating the Brazilians. The Brazilians are still, by the way, suffering. I don't know what kind of state they're going to be in when they turn up to play Holland tomorrow.
You know,
because, it's going to be an absolute joke of a game, isn't it? I mean, Van Gaal says he doesn't want to play it, because basically if you lose third place, you go back as losers, and he'd rather go back as a semi-final winner, you know. And, the Brazilians don't want to play football anymore for at least 4 years,
No, exactly. And also, we get messages out of Manchester that Van Gaal is actually on the phone 16 times a day now, organising the pre-season training at Old Trafford.
For him, the war is over.
He couldn't care less. But I do think the funniest postscript to the Brazil defeat is this response from Neymar's agent about Big Phil. Neymar's agent yesterday launched a vitriolic attack on Brazil coach Luis Felipe Scolari in the wake of the Scolari, in the wake of the 7-1 defeat by German World Cup semi-finals, describing Scolari as an old jerk. An old jerk, arrogant, repulsive, conceited, and ridiculous.
But it wasn't all bad then.
It wasn't all bad at all. But I mean, do you know what? That gives me the image of Scolari bumbling around in an airport in Europe when we tried to make him England manager. Right. And he said, I didn't realise I'd have to speak to the press. I don't want the job.
Did you see that thing going around on social media yesterday where it said, Phil Scolari trying to make a hasty exit from Rio Airport and he was pulling on a David Moyes mask so nobody could recognise him.
But there was another one in which he was, in which the Scolari mask was coming off and underneath it was David Moyes. Are you David Moyes in disguise?
Yeah, right.
So the amount of abuse and mockery this fella's going through, and he's got that sort of face as well, hasn't he? He looks permanently like he's been pan-faced. You know my expression where you get smashed in the face
Funnily
with
enough,
a pan.
I thought of that expression when I was looking at him the other night. I was standing on the touchline. I thought he actually, of all the people you've ever described as looking like they've been hit with a pan, is him.
He looked pan-faced because he looked in a total state of shock. He looked mesmerised. What am I doing in this football stadium? Why has my team conceded 7 goals? What's going on? Where's Germany? I want to emigrate from Brazil because I know I'm going to get, lynched, not literally, obviously, but in terms of public opinion from the millions of Brazil fans who thought we were going to win it. For him, life is over. Yeah. He can't live in Brazil for the rest of his life, can he?
Won't be able to.
Where's he going to live?
Well,
Portugal?
we heard from Tim Vickery for a long time saying that the guys who were in the Brazil team in 1950 when Uruguay won the World Cup have never really been able to get over it. They've never been allowed to forget it, and they've never been able to be kind of comfortable in restaurants or anything like that.
No, I absolutely. And if he goes to Belo Horizonte again, he will get run out of town, won't he?
I'm sure.
He absolutely will. Now, that's all very interesting. The World Cup's interesting, but there is another issue.
There's lots to talk about the World Cup.
There's a lot to talk about in the World Cup, and we will get on to that because we must let our listeners know that we're right on top of the game, and I've got several issues which I can address and help people sort out their confused minds about where English football goes next, about where German football goes next, why German football is what it is, why Brazil is what it is, and how we're going to solve it all. But before we do that, because of two reports published in tomorrow morning's papers, I feel I have a duty to address obesity, OK?
Do you?
I do.
This is a pet subject of yours, obesity, isn't it?
Well, it's not a pet subject, but it kills so many people. Now, what about these headlines here? The one in the Times, obese will get free surgery on the NHS, up to 1 million could qualify for treatment. And then on the front of the Daily Mail, thousands more to get obesity opted on the NHS. NICE, that's the public body. What does that stand for, NICE?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can. It stands for National Institute for...
Clinical Excellence?
Yeah, Clinical Excellence, that's right. Healthcare and Excellence.
Yeah, it's basically the body that decides what drugs you're allowed to get
That's
if you're
right.
on the NHS and what sort of what kind of operations are going to be performed by NHS doctors.
That's so what they're saying is, they're saying now 1 million people. Now, the point is, I'm going to be accused of being heartless because I'm being told that these 1 million people...
Which is ironic in itself, because you kind of are, aren't you?
I am a bit heartless. Well, I'm one-thirdless heart. One heart thirdless. Sorry, 1/3 of my heart works. The other 2/3 doesn't. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
do.
And
1 heart thirdless, I think I'll go with that.
I'm getting worried about these 22 tablets I take every day.
I'm getting worried about it as well.
I'm certain by now it must have completely knackered my kidneys.
And your stomach lining.
Stomach lining, maybe. And I get that carpal thing.
Do you ever get pains in your back?
No, I get the carpal thing at the end of your wrist.
Carpal tunnel?
Yeah, because what happens is the end of your arms get all silted up with all the silting
you can get that
tablets.
You can get that sucked out.
Yeah, you can get it sucked out. I've had it done once or twice. And
have you?
yeah. But the tablets are getting on my nerves, so I'm going to have a
I'll tell you what else I wanted to mention to you. Was the last time you were here, you were on crutches.
Right.
Today you came in without the crutches.
Hobbling, though.
So I can only assume that you're feeling a bit better in the leg area.
Well, actually, you won't believe this, but I showed you the knee bandage that I had.
Yeah.
That was incredibly effective.
Was it?
So I kept it on for 2 days.
And it was blue as well.
It was blue.
Any coincidence to that?
I kept it on for 2 days, and then I got a tweet from a very helpful listener who said, what you really need, Mike, is the same bandage, but with a hole in the front to support the patella. That's your knee, isn't it?
Is it?
Isn't your knee the patella, or is that your...
No idea.
I think it is, yeah. I think your patella
that's a
is...
kind of cigar.
No. Your knee, like bone, or whatever you call it, the thing that floats around between your two joints.
Well, like your kneecap, you mean?
Kneecap, that's it. That's what I was looking for, yeah. Your kneecap.
What's not patella? Where'd you get that from?
I think it is the patella. Anyway, point is, he said, get one with a hole. So I got that. So I wore the first one for a day and the second one for a day. But the problem is, and I've had this before with knee injuries, is that when you wear that, it then absolutely knackers the skin underneath the bandage.
Yes.
And when I took the bandage
how long
off,
you have it on for.
Well, I had it on for 2 days, and unfortunately I didn't put any moisturiser on underneath it, which is what you're supposed to do. I just forgot.
I'm starting to get a bad feeling about what you're about to describe.
Well, no, here, I'll show it to you.
No, don't show it to me.
No, I will.
No, I really don't want to see it. I really don't want to see it.
Well, I'm going to show it to you anyway, because you need to know these things.
Well, I'm certainly not going to take a picture of it.
See the colour, right? Now, what's happened is, the reason old
MG
is going, which is rather unkind.
That looks like something from the Quatermass experiment.
Well, it looks like an unfried hamburger, actually, doesn't it? Or did you fry hamburgers?
Or
no, you cook them, yeah. And what's happened is the skin's got it's
mottled.
It's dried out and mottled,
isn't it?
So now I've had to take the bandage off, and I've had to bathe it in Humavate, which it's an antiseptic
You're
skin
like a walking
cream.
pharmacy.
I am. It's an antiseptic skin cream which will put my knee right eventually. But
so how do you put your knee in? How do you bathe your knee without bathing the rest of you?
Well, because it comes in a tube. And and you pour it out of a tube onto your knee,
so you're
and
not
you rub it
immersing,
around.
So you're not immersing it.
No, you can't immerse it. And like when I bath now, I have to bath with my legs and my feet over the edge of the bath. no, because otherwise.
So there you are. So I've got this vision of you sitting in your triangular bath.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
with one leg over either side of presumably the isosceles.
No, let's not have a vision like that. No, I put both legs over the same side of the bath.
Oh, the same side, okay.
Because otherwise,
so side saddle kind of idea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, otherwise the hot water will soak off the Humavate, which is the only thing that cures it.
Why don't you just put it on after you've had the bath?
Well, I'll tell you why. It's incredibly thick stuff, and just using it once on your hands, it takes like 10 minutes to get it off your hands, so I don't want to do it too often, you see what I mean? And the other thing is that if I don't stop it now, I'm not joking, I've had it before where it spread literally all over my body. Even my face looked like this. No, I did. Honestly, I look like Elephant Man.
The best description I can say is it looks like those shirts that they're going to wear in the Scottish Commonwealth Games uniform.
Really?
You know, that kind of paisley pattern. No, it's like a paisley pattern.
Oh, I've got some information about Scotland in a minute.
Oh, okay.
But anyway...
Anyway, we digress.
Yeah, but the other thing is, it also means that when I wear a pair of trousers, I've got them tonight, over the...
Those are not trousers, those are shorts.
They're not shorts.
Oh, they are trousers,
Yeah,
okay.
fool.
Well, because you had one of them rolled up, so I
Yeah,
assume
well,
it
I
was
had it rolled up to show you my knee.
Okay.
And actually, I just turned my knee just doing that. I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, point of the story is...
What is the point of the story?
Well, the point of the story is that because this stuff is so thick and gooey, once I've worn a pair of trousers over them, I have to throw the trousers away. Because you can't rescue them. You can't rescue them.
Why
No.
don't you just wear baggy trousers? I said this to you the other night. Or shorts.
No, well, I didn't want to wear shorts because you've already grimaced at the sight of my knee.
That's true,
And
yeah.
I thought if I put the shorts on, started walking around with those shorts...
Mind you, I saw a guy the other day walking around in shorts who had
Yeah.
some kind of horrible sort of rash on his leg. Quite off-putting.
Well, you don't want to...
And you know where he was heading? He was heading into the supermarket.
Oh, even
And I
worse.
thought, can you imagine that?
What would you do if you walked into a supermarket? There was a bloke there without a shirt on. I'd just walk out again.
I would, yeah.
All the filth falling off his body over fresh food and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, they should have these signs like they have in
Of course
America.
they should.
You know, no shirt, no service.
That's right, absolutely.
People shouldn't be allowed.
Absolutely.
The vest is a similar thing.
Yeah.
I was very upset when I saw those Australian fans cheering on what's his name, Kyrgios, when he was when he was beating Nadal.
Kyrgios, yeah,
and they were sitting at Wimbledon, but with just white vests on.
Dreadful.
With an Australian
Dreadful.
flag. You know,
Dreadful.
you should not expose your armpits as a man to the general public unless they ask you to.
I don't know, a bit of a lesson in social culture.
Anyway, this is all getting a bit horrible, this. I mean, I'd rather not be thinking about the nasty physical aspects of whatever your disease is.
Don't even worry about it, because I know we've got to go for a short break. Then I'm going to tell you exactly why we kind of beat the obesity problem, but why, actually, most obesity is the fault of the obese. It's not the fault of society, it's not the fault of medicine or doctors, it's the fault of the obese. So why are we giving...
the bankers to blame for it?
No, it's not the bankers. Why are we giving 1 million people the opportunity to have a gastric band? And people are going to say I'm unkind because a lot of this would apply to people who've now got type 2 diabetes, which is the less severe form.
Diabetes.
But it's self-inflicted, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because what came first, the chicken or the egg? A fat person, grossly overweight, has got type 2 diabetes, probably because of their excess weight.
Yes.
So now, society, and me and you, got to pay for a gastric band for this guy to get him back to normal weight.
Madness.
Well, you know, my view of this is, if you give somebody a way out, then you are...
You're enabling them, aren't you?
You are, enabling, that's not a bad word, but mine is you're taking away the incentive not to get into that sort of condition in the first place. You know, if you and I said to each
I
other...
thought we were having a little break.
Yeah, we'll just keep eating and drinking forever, because at the end of it, some guy will turn up with an ambulance, take us into hospital, and put us right again, which is the way Edward Kennedy used to run his life, wasn't it, in America all the time.
Keith Richards got like that.
Well, I think Keith Richards at least pays for himself, you know. But Edward Kennedy was expected to be dried out every January after drinking, like, huge gallons of whiskey over Christmas, didn't he? And that can't happen. But I've got a solution, and I'll tell you about it next.
Very, very good. Mr. Mike Porky Parry is here. We are the two Mikes. The solution is coming up. This is Talk Sports Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. Mike Parry is here with me. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast out in a few hours' time, of course, on iTunes. We're talking about a great many things. We've got loads and loads of messages coming in on the teachers' front, and I will be bringing those out later on when we talk about sports days and teachers and all that sort of thing. Some of you seem to think that I'm being very unfair to the teachers, that Mike Parry will put me straight. I don't think you know Mr. Parry quite as well as I do. I think you'll find he agrees with every single word that I've been saying about the teachers. But before we get to your solution on the beat of this country, let's take a call from Richie, who's an Arsenal fan. You might want to talk about Alexis Sanchez.
Let's do that.
Hi, Richie.
How you doing, bud? All right?
Yeah, very well, mate. What would you like to say?
Well, I'm just going to say that, first of all, obviously, it's a fantastic signing for the Premiership. It's a fantastic signing for Arsenal. It's been a real long time coming, because I don't think the last-ditch signing of Ozil last year really signals our intentions. But,
well, it didn't work out quite as well as everyone hoped, did it?
Well, it did initially. It did start off with.
No, it never did at all. I can't think of one game that Ozil turned, but that we were losing, that Ozil showed why he was worth £42 million. I don't think Ozil, he went missing in our big games that we were losing, and he went missing in our big games that we were winning, even.
Well, people were applauding him and saying he's the answer, it's the one great signing that Wenger's been waiting 5 years for, and then he faded off during the rest of the season, didn't he?
Well, not really. I think if you've been starved of anything for a long time, and all of a sudden someone throws you a slice of bread, it still tastes good.
Yeah,
Ozil made...
like Mike Parry's ducks.
Yeah, that's right. It certainly is.
Ozil may turn into something that we need this season, or maybe after a season. But I don't even really think he's shone in the World Cup, you know. But anyway, I want to talk about Sanchez. Sanchez is a great signing for Arsenal. I couldn't believe it when we looked like going for him. I thought it was another thing. But he's not the last piece in the jigsaw. The last piece in the jigsaw for Arsenal is a defensive midfielder, someone that can protect. Because Sanchez is another quite a small player. And when
he's quite a tough player, though, isn't he? I mean, he's not going to be knocked around.
He's not going to be knocked around, but we need someone that can boss the midfield. Like, every time we play against the Chelseas, their bus that they park, the Man Cities, the power midfields, we go missing. And for the likes of Ozil, I mean, last year when he came up against him, he looked like a deer that had been caught in the headlights. You know, they go missing. And the likes of Ramsey and Wilshere, they're too small when they're coming up against, you know, the Paulinhos, the big players that Man City in at. And what we need a Vieira-like player, an Edu, a Gilberto, that type of player that we've lacked at Arsenal for a long, long time. Stick him in the middle of the midfield and help protect the players like Ramsey, like Sanchez, like Ozil that can go and play a bit of football. And I think that's our last jigsaw. And hopefully it'd be Sami Khedira, mate. I don't know. I mean, we couldn't be that lucky, but that would be the player for me if he could get him, or the player that plays at Southampton, Schinderlin, whatever his name is, Schneiderlin. You know, that type of player that will sit in the middle of the midfield and give us a bit of protection and dish it out. I mean, I said last year that the player, Fellaini, I'd rather hope we'd signed him, but it looks like maybe I was wrong. But he's the type of player that will, when we get kicked, he'll kick them back.
Yeah, and that's what you didn't have last year. Richie, thanks very much indeed for your call. By the way, did you see Fellaini's had a haircut?
Yeah.
He shaved all his afro off.
He has done that before. He did that.
He looks completely different.
Did that a couple of seasons ago. Well, yeah, I mean, I always thought that Ruud Gullit was never the same person after he got rid of his dreadlocks.
Yeah.
When he had his dreadlocks, he was an absolutely magical figure, wasn't he? You know, he was this man with his huge stature. He's a big guy, very broad shoulders and all that. These fantastic dreadlocks spilling down onto those broad shoulders. Then all of a sudden he comes along and he looks like a shorn sheep, really, doesn't he?
Well, I suppose it's what you get used to, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it is.
I mean, if I came in suddenly having my hair all cut short down to sort of a number 2, you'd think I look weird.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that one has an image, and the image of Ruud Gullit was his dreadlocks used to bounce up and down as he ran about a football field, and that was his image. And all that.
Lukaku looked very different as well when he had his hair. Lukaku did.
Lukaku was exactly the same, and I don't think it does him any good, because I think that when you're a guy like Gullit or Lukaku, there's an aura about you because you actually look so spectacular with those dreadlocks. You know what I mean? And they give you some air of mystery. They give you some air of menace as well. And you cut them off, you're like any other player on the pitch. So I don't think it's a very good idea. Not a very good idea. I don't think it's a very good idea for Fellaini either.
Well, I suppose Fellaini's got to try anything at this point to try and keep his job at Manchester United. But
indeed.
We shall see. Now, I know you've still got to tell us about your solution for the obese.
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
We've got plenty of time to get into that.
Sure.
Because we've now got a special guest coming on.
Excellent.
A lady by the name of Danielle Cunha.
Smashing.
Who is the CEO of rentalocalfriend.com. Now, you're a man that doesn't have very many friends, as we've said before, quite often.
That's by choice.
That may be by choice, but this is a service where if you haven't got many friends, you can actually rent one. And I thought this would be a great idea for you because the main reason you don't like having friends is because you don't like being obligated to them, right?
Yeah.
You don't like to get calls in the middle of the night saying, "Can you come and help me? My car's broken down in
Barnsley." In my view, that old expression, "a friend in need," is a friend. No, I'm sorry, for me, a friend in need is a blinking nuisance.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's a very selfish way of looking at it.
Well, why is it selfish? Why is it selfish?
Well, let's talk to Daniela and find out what she has to say. Daniela, very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you very much.
Hi, Danielle. Lovely to speak to you.
Now, this man's voice that you hear in the background, Mike Parry, by his own definition, does not have very many friends, doesn't like having friends. Your service, it seems to me, would be perfect for him because he can have a friend for an hour or maybe 3 hours or maybe a whole week, and then he doesn't have to be obligated to them. He doesn't have to see them ever again.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole concept of Rent a Local Friend is that, first of all, the idea is when you travel, so that you travel and live a local spirit. So you can have friends all over the world without actually having the obligation to being friends.
See, he's got enemies all over the world because he's a very well-travelled man.
Not really. I mean, Daniel, what I'd say to that is that you're not renting a friend. A friend is somebody whose habits you know, whose instincts you know, who you can talk to about certain shared beliefs and interests. This is just some stranger walking into your life because you are so weak-willed, you are so lacking in confidence, you are so unable to go through life on your own and need a comfort blanket in the face of some stranger sitting next to you that actually it says an awful lot more about your own deficiencies than anything else.
Well, that's a lovely speech, but I will have to disagree with you because in the end of the day, when it comes down to having a friend, even though we're all very blessed to having that many friends, we do not have them spread all over the world. And this is the essence of the concept of what we bring, which is basically wherever you are, no matter where you are, you have the opportunity to be with someone. And when I say be with someone, it's to basically select someone with the same interests as you have and show you the opportunity of actually being a local no matter where you are in the world.
Well, you see, that's all very well being a local, but I mean, for instance, if I was going to...
Say you were going to Rio, for example.
Well, no, supposing I was going
Okay.
to one of the southern states in America, and I sort of rang up your service, and I said, met this friend, oh, great, let's go and have a meal together, let's go and have dinner. Now, if that other person, whether it's male or female...
Whereabouts would you think you would be, though? Tell me,
well,
give me a name.
Somewhere in South California, okay?
Southern California,
Yeah.
San Diego.
Maybe,
Okay.
maybe.
Right.
So this person, whoever it is, you know, male or female, and
I know someone there.
okay, well, I know plenty of people there. We order a meal, and I cannot stand being within 50 yards of garlic. So this person that I'm dining with suddenly orders this meal, and there's 2.5 gallons of garlic laced all over whatever this person's eating. Not only can I not stand the smell of garlic, I can't stand being near anybody who's eaten garlic. I don't like being in restaurants that use garlic, and my hair suddenly feels all
What
wet
sort of
with
restaurant
garlic.
doesn't use garlic?
Well, most restaurants don't use garlic because we don't eat garlic in this country.
Rubbish.
No, garlic is a continental thing here in Europe, Danielle. It's not an English
Daniel,
thing.
you can see why he doesn't have any friends,
No,
right?
it's not an English thing, honest to God. And
Fair enough. I would dare to say it's an English thing, as I did live in Spain and I had a lot of shrimp with garlic.
yeah,
But
okay, well that's fine.
Back to your point, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think the whole essence of it and the differentiation is that you can actually have the opportunity to talk to the person and pre-select the person based on what you want. So, for example, let's take the garlic example. You want to book a friend in Southern California, you send a message to the entire Southern California community and you say, I cannot stand garlic. I want to book somebody who has a lot to aggregate, but who will not in any circumstance take me to a garlic eating restaurant.
Do you think they'd all reject him out of hand, Danielle, straight away?
You will not be rejected at all, because if you have other interests, there will be a person to fulfill those interests. Unless you only have the fact that you hate garlic, then I don't think you would be a very friendly.
He doesn't really have any. I mean, that's about the best point he's got, Danielle. I mean, the fact that he hates garlic is about the best. Doesn't get any better than that.
Danielle, you can't possibly list all the things that you like, which you hope the person you're going out with like. So, for instance...
But also, you can be friends with somebody without having exactly the same likes, can't you?
Well, okay, Mike, put this to me then. So if Mike and I, we're both called
It's Mike and Mike. Okay.
Mike, that's right. So if Mike and I go out, after a show or something like that, or we meet in town one evening, we would have a fair few glasses of alcohol because we both drink alcohol, okay? And we do that over doing something. So we suddenly meet this new friend you fixed me up with who says they're a teetotaler. Now,
She's already explained that.
After I've had
teetotalers.
Well, yes, but you can't list every possible characteristic that you hope you'll find.
Well, in your case, you say, I don't want to be with anyone who likes garlic, and whoever else it is, they have to be a drunk.
Yeah. Well, no, they don't have to be a drunk. If you're describing yourself as a drunk. There's nothing wrong with having 3 or 4 glasses of wine over dinner. But when I've had 3 or 4 glasses of wine, my thinking pattern will be going in a completely different direction to the teetotal person sitting opposite me.
Maybe you'd eat some garlic if you were that person.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Anyway, do you mind if we let Danielle get a word in?
Of course.
Because, I mean, you've been monopolising, as ever, the conversation.
Thank you for
Danielle,
the
I'm
opportunity.
terribly sorry. So tell us about how, if somebody, say, for example, go round the other way, Mr. Parry here wanted to become a friend to someone else. He's in London. Somebody wants to, hook up with him when they come to London. How does he become a friend to somebody else?
Okay, so basically the essence of being a local friend, it's very simple. You just apply. You pay an annual fee of $100. which you recover within the first or 1.5 outings. And then you fill in a questionnaire where you say all of your interests, what do you have to get to aggregate to other people, what is your value proposition, basically. And then you scan a couple documents of yours for security reasons, and then you have access to the platform. And then after that, the more interest you have in essence is the more chances you are to be picked. So in the end of the day, Rent a Local Friend is not a platform who will pick the friends for you or the bookers for you, but they will allow you to have the platform and allow people to choose you or you to respond to people who want to be chosen. And then you have the opportunity to talk to each other. And then once you find sort of like a match or some kind of symphony, then the booker will book the service.
Okay.
Sounds like a good way to find the first Mrs. Parry.
Yeah, but here, I put on my form, because you want to know sort of things that I'm interested in, so I put on my form, I'm a potential friend to somebody else. My abiding interest is the history of the Royal Navy. and no, because when you go out with friends, you want to talk to them about mutual interest. What are you laughing at?
You won't find anyone that's got a mutual interest in the Royal Navy.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Except for maybe a sailor.
And in the end of the day, you can do that. You're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah.
But in the end of the day, you also have...
Hello? Danielle. She's been a bit unfriendly.
I think she's gone.
She's gone, yeah.
Find another local friend, I think is the thing.
Yeah, but you take my point, Mike. What are you going to do? Sit there while the person opposite tells you about the history of the Royal Ballet? I've got no interest in ballet.
You don't even know what friendship is. That's the trouble.
I do know what friendship is.
You don't have to talk about all the same things. You don't have to have the same interests. You don't have to like the same things.
Well, you and I go out, we talk about the same things. We talk about work, we talk about the job, we talk about what we read in the papers this morning.
We have never talked about the history of the Royal Navy.
We've got other things to talk about. You and I, we've known each other 30 years, so we know which platforms of interest we can suddenly appear on and step up to, step down to, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, why would you expect that from somebody you don't know then?
Well, because if you don't know them, you've got to spend hours getting to know somebody before you can feel comfortable in their company. Look, anybody who thinks they can go out and immediately become a friend with somebody else they've never met before is a weirdo. Because you cannot.
Whenever I go out with you,
cannot become friends to a stranger like that.
But all I see is you going off to talk to complete strangers who call you over and want pictures with you, and you spend your entire life talking to strangers.
That's not my fault. That is actually being polite. What about the chap who passed me in the street the other morning,
right?
We'll
get to that in a minute.
Just
check at the time. Look, you see the time? See that clock up there?
Yeah.
Next to the big red light.
Come on, get on with it.
We're getting very late here. He's Mike Porky Parry. I am Mike Graham. We've got loads more. And his solution to obesity coming next. Extra time. Mike Parry's looking at me with the most incredulous look on his face. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because you're giggling and laughing.
Well, because you're not listening to the words of the song.
What were they?
You're the one for me, fatty.
Oh, really? That's supposed to refer to me, is it?
Here's a text. Well, if
what
the cap
cheap
fits.
Shot,
here's a text from a tweet from James at TS Extra Time. Imagine Porky being booked as a friend. The person would be freaked out by how much of a weirdo he is.
How much of a weirdo? See, that's not fair. Well, calling me a weirdo. No, it's not.
Well, you've just explained that your two kind of main points of reference, if you wanted to be friends with somebody you'd never met before, is they'd have to have an intense knowledge of the history of the Royal Navy.
Well, what's wrong with that? I'd like to talk about it.
Which nobody has. And also, you got 3 out of 10 when we quizzed you about it anyway. So if they really were an expert, they'd immediately spot you as a complete charlatan.
Rubbish.
Second off, you say you don't like garlic.
Well, I don't like garlic.
Have you never eaten a garlic, anything with garlic sauce on it? You've never eaten garlic bread?
No, I don't.
You've never had garlic bread? You've never had pizza?
No, of course I've had pizza.
Well, pizza has garlic in it.
It doesn't. Not the pizza I have. I have ham.
Garlic-free pizza.
I don't. I have ham and mushroom as my topping on pizza.
Right.
And what do you mean I bet you do? What's wrong with ham and mushroom?
Well, it just sounds very pedestrian.
Well, it doesn't have any garlic in it, you see.
Are you sure there's no garlic in the dough or anything like that?
No, there's no garlic in the dough. I insist on non-garlic-y stuff. Honestly, I just don't like it.
Well, what about when we went for a Chinese? They have loads of food, garlic and Chinese
food. They don't. It doesn't smell like garlic to me. When you have the old, those little pancake things we wrap the duck in.
Yeah.
that doesn't taste of garlic. That tastes of lovely green vegetables, because there's... What else do they give you?
The
The
green
sliced
shoots
stuff.
of recovery, yeah.
You
Those
know-
little kind of shallots or onions.
No. What are they? They're what is it that they give you? The green strips that you put in the.
Well, they give you cucumber, but they also
No,
give you...
cucumber, that's what
it's
it is.
like spring
Cucumber.
onion, isn't it?
Yeah, spring onion and cucumber. That's right. No, that's all great. You know, it's not a problem at all.
You don't
But,
think they use garlic in the cooking of the duck?
you know, when I fell foul of the garlic rule, you know, our very good friend...
Fell foul, I like it.
Yeah, true, yeah, the pun unintended. You know, our friend Doreen,
Yes.
lived in Connecticut,
Yeah.
you know, God rest her soul. but
Sadly, no longer with us. Did
very, very close friend of mine in America, of course, and she was...
she have a good knowledge of the Royal Navy?
Well, no, of course she didn't,
You
you
just
fool.
said she was a friend of yours.
Well, she was a friend of mine, but
Well,
she
how
was
can
wife
be
of
a friend
Ivor, who
yours?
was a friend of
Well,
ours,
how can
right?
she be a friend of yours? She doesn't know anything about the Navy.
But she sort of took me under her wing when I first arrived in America in the 80s and all that kind of stuff. She was like my surrogate mother and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And one time I went over to America on the QE2.
Yeah, yes.
And I got a message on the QE2 halfway across the Atlantic saying, you know, you're coming up to Connecticut when you land and all that kind of stuff. And there's a car waiting for me there when I got there, and we went up to Connecticut, and I was so happy to see him all that. And anyway, we went out that night, and then she said, oh, I'm doing you a roast tomorrow night. I know how much you love a roast, you know. I said, I certainly do. I said, I don't get in America much. That's lovely, thank you. And then the next morning, went out to the pub with Ivor, we had a few beers and all that kind of stuff, came back, and then as we opened the kitchen door and went in, you know, those American sliding door type things, keep the gnats out and all that, I couldn't believe it, but I was consumed by the smell of garlic. I thought, what's gone on here? And anyway, what
had gone on?
What had gone on is that Dorian had gone off and bought a joint of beef.
Yeah.
You know, a huge joint of Texan beef or something like that, you know. But she'd soaked it all night in garlic. Even she, good as friend as she was of mine, didn't realise my aversion to garlic. So she'd
Well, it's
soaked
kind
it.
of unusual for people
and
not to
and
like
she'd
it
put
at all.
She'd put it in the oven.
She'd marinated it, in other words.
Yeah, marinated it, in garlic. And she put it in the oven and
Well, presumably other things as well, not just garlic.
well, all I could smell was garlic, and then soaked in garlic. And anyway, when we were sitting at the table, and we were all joyous, and we had a few glasses of wine, and Ivor stood up and started carving the meat, what could I do? I had to eat it. And he put on, you know, slice after slice after slice, enjoying the beef,
So you were able to eat it?
No, I had to go to the loo a few times and literally spit it out of my mouth into loo paper because it was no, honestly, it was terribly difficult for me. I think
That's ridiculous.
I think I've got a medical aversion to garlic. And
But
anyway.
garlic's intensely good for you. Apart from anything else, it'd be very good for
Well,
your heart.
people
it would
say
be
that.
very good for your heart.
Apparently, you can get these non-garlic smelling garlic tablets, can't you?
You
Or
can.
non-garlic odour,
Yeah.
something like that. And you're
Right.
supposed to take
Well,
them
they're
to
tablets, yeah.
do you good or whatever. But I've no. Anyway, look, you know, enough of garlic. And for you to call me a weirdo, Mike,
I didn't call you a weirdo.
You
It was
did.
one of
You
our
did.
listeners.
No,
one
you
of our
did.
listeners. It was a guy called James.
You did. You said.
He said you were a weirdo.
No,
Not me.
no, you did. You said because of the Royal Navy and the garlic and all that. I'm not a weirdo at
Well, how
all.
about this one from Georgie in Wallasey?
Yeah.
It's a yes to two mics. Who doesn't like garlic then? Finally sussed out what Porky was in a previous life.
Yeah.
A vampire.
Vampire.
Would you like a steak? STAKE.
I like that. It's a bit of a joke there. But, no, it's not that unusual not to like garlic. I know a load of people who don't. Actually, I know a load of people do like garlic, and I just cannot be in their company. I find it so offensive for them to be breathing garlic all over me. And I think that's antisocial anyway, don't you?
There's no
Don't you
hope
think that's
for you.
antisocial.
There's no hope for you.
Used to work with a lad at the Daily Express, young Colin Bell, God rest his soul, not with us anymore. But, oh, man, he used to...
Not the footballer.
No. He used to consume... I think he must have eaten it raw or something. He used to smell terribly of garlic, and I simply
But you
can't...
eat curry, though, don't you,
I
as well? Curry's got loads of garlic in it.
Well, I don't think it has. I don't think it
course it
has.
has.
No, I don't think it has. It doesn't
There is
smell
not
of
a
garlic.
curry on earth that does not have garlic in it.
Well, I don't, I don't perceive it to be in garlic. There's a minute portion of it. Anyway, look, never mind about going
We've
on
run
all
out of
about
time
that.
again.
And
You spent 45
and you
minutes
insulted
and
me.
you still haven't given us your solution to obesity.
Well, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Well, I hope so, because we've waited a long time for it now. It's coming next on TalkSport.
Oh garlic, where are you? Oh garlic, where are you? Oh garlic, don't hide. Oh garlic, where are you? You have a white skin. You have a white skin. You are good for health. So please do come in.
What a ridiculous song.
It's good, though, isn't it?
What a ridiculous song. Is that the
Top-
name of somebody,
top
garlic?
marks.
Is that like a Shakespearean character or something?
Garlic? No, I don't think so.
Well, what's that song about?
There have been people called Garlic. There is a
Yeah.
Mr. Garlic. I can't remember what he does.
No,
but,
there is some guy who was in the news recently and his first name was Garlic.
yeah, Robert Garlic or something
No,
like that.
no, his first name was Garlic. He was like Garlic Jones or something. Or
No, I
something
don't
like
think
that. Garlic Smith. But anyway, look, now, the obesity thing.
Yes.
This is serious. Let's get serious for a minute,
Yeah,
right?
because it is, as you said, the
Yeah.
front page story on both the Times
That's right.
and the Daily
Okay.
Mail this morning.
Now,
So
I've
it
been-
is a big issue.
I've been doing a load of research on obesity before this came up, but this is a great peg for me to explain to you what should happen. Did you know that since the advent of central heating in homes in Britain, which probably goes back 50 years,
Yeah.
the obesity problem started?
That's
before,
true.
Before
But isn't that more to do with the fact that portions have got bigger and fast food has become a thing?
No, it's largely to do with central heating.
Really?
What we have to do with people who are obese is you should take the central heating out of their homes. You should go in and take the radiators out. Seriously. No.
This will never fly. You can't get away with that.
You can. And you can do it easily. You know that you can take a radiator out of a house and just seal up the two pipes that feed the
Well,
radiator.
I don't think it's quite as easy as that.
It is. It is. It's dead easy. It's dead easy. You can take the radiators out.
Doesn't the water come spouting out of them?
No. Of course it doesn't. You turn the water off because people.
So you turn the water off first.
Yeah. People have their radiators cleaned. I have my radiators cleaned, and a guy comes along, switches all the water
Really?
off. He takes the radiators, he
What
swills
do you mean
them
cleaned on the inside?
on the inside. Yeah.
Why does he do that then?
Otherwise, rust particles start building up. Well, they do. They clean them, take them out and they clean them, then bring them back, and then they paint them on the outside and they put them back.
But
you
how
know.
do they clean them, though?
Well, they pump fluid through them, don't they, to
Okay.
clean them internally?
Well, so they take them out of the wall,
Yes.
disconnect them from the pipes,
That's right.
turn off your water,
That's right.
and then they shove something through it.
That's right. They take them outside.
Cleanse it.
Take them outside.
Fascinating. See, I've never known that.
Oh yeah, I haven't done it regularly. You know, in
How often
all
do you
my
get them done?
properties. Oh, I don't know, every 5 years or something
Really?
like that. Yeah, and it's great. But what I'm saying is, you can take the radiators out easily. I've seen it happen.
Well, yeah, but you can't just
And-
take, if you're going to take central heating out of people's homes, you
Yeah.
have to take out all the pipes as well.
No, you don't.
Because otherwise they can still heat up, can't
No, you can let them have the central heating back when they've lost a few stone. Because what happens is, and this is a proven scientific factor, is that if the body is not fighting to keep warm, then the body expands all the time. What keeps weight down is the body's fight to seek warmth, okay? And seeking warmth is something you do in a number of ways.
they? Also, you burn calories, presumably, trying to keep warm.
You burn calories keeping warm. You also burn calories, for instance, getting up in the morning and moving around to try and start your circulation going. But what is the absolute precursor to fatness is too comfortable a life in too warm a house. Now, let me tell you this, because I've done a lot of research
But
on
surely
it.
it's
Okay?
a lot more to do with people
No.
not doing any exercise and eating too
But they
much.
don't do exercise because they feel too comfortable and warm in their houses,
I
so
see.
they don't go out. You see
Right.
what I mean? If it was cold inside the house, come on, you and I were brought up in houses where there was ice on the inside
My
of the...
my
of
father
the-
actually turned down the chance to have central
Good
heating.
for him. Good
Because
for
he
him.
was, I used to call him a Spartan.
Right.
Because he used to, this is a guy who used to wake me up in the morning with a cold flannel.
Yep.
I used to sleep in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because, we lived in this quite small flat. And once my
You
sister...
slept in the kitchen?
I slept in the kitchen for a while, yeah.
What sort of place you brought up in?
Well, no, because it was a very small
Slept in
flat.
the kitchen?
Yeah, and we had, my sister and I shared a
Underneath
room.
the sink?
No, it wasn't that small of a kitchen. There was
Yeah.
it was able to be kind of partitioned off, and
Yeah.
so the cookers were all on one side, and I was on the other side, and I had a kind of couch that I slept on. And the thing is, my sister.
amazing.
Well, no, the thing is, I couldn't share the room with my sister anymore because she had
Yeah.
become a teenager, and
Yeah.
obviously she didn't want me around. She wanted
Yeah,
to kick me out,
exactly.
so we couldn't
Yeah.
be in bunk beds anymore.
Yeah.
So for about 4 years, I slept in the kitchen, and he used to wake me up every morning by chucking a cold flannel on my face and
Good
rubbing my
idea.
face. And he was offered by the people that owned the house, because of course he never bought the thing, by the landlord the opportunity to put central heating,
Yeah.
and he said no.
No, I don't- well, that's
Because you know
good.
why? He said it created dust.
Well, it might create dust, but it creates fatness. Now, there is a scientific term called the Goldilocks level, and the Goldilocks level is a level of heating inside your house which is described as hot but not too hot, but it means the body does not have to work to keep warm, so it doesn't use up as many calories, right?
What's it going to do with Goldilocks?
Well, they call it the Goldilocks effect. This is the study into central heating in homes and the link to obesity. It's an official study, and it was done at the Maastricht University Medical Centre. Okay, you know where Maastricht is?
Sounds a bit like the Nottingham Trent
No,
University.
no.
The Maastricht what?
No. The Maastricht University Medical Centre.
marvellous.
Now, you know where Maastricht is?
Maastricht, yes, it's at the heart of the European Union, isn't it?
And which country is it in?
It's in Belgium.
It's in Holland, isn't it?
Is it?
Is it? I thought Maastricht was in
Maybe
Holland.
you're right, yeah.
Well, it might
It's
be
on the border.
It's on the Belgium-Holland border, okay? And the guy who did this was Wouter van Marken, Leakenbelt. No, he was. He was.
Luther van Martin.
Yeah.
Leakenbelt.
Wouter van Marten,
Yeah.
Leakenbelt.
World-renowned obesity specialist.
Well, he is, because he wrote this report, honestly, Anyway, he concluded, right, that most thermostats are set to 25 degrees centigrade or higher.
Yeah.
And actually, the critical temperature to keep your body fighting against cold and giving up calories is 19 degrees centigrade. Yeah. And
See, it's interesting that because I was thinking that when I was coming up in the car
Right.
tonight, because it's a bit colder this evening. When suddenly it was like a Scottish summer when I got in the car.
Right.
And so I turned up the heat quite big time in the car, and it started blasting out. And I think the hottest it goes up to is about 26, 27 degrees, and it was really starting to get really hot.
Yeah.
So I turned it back down, and I actually found that about 20 degrees was about the right comfortable temperature. So your man Lickenberger, or whatever his name is right.
Yeah, mine's permanently on 18 in my car. Yeah, I won't allow it to go up or down or like that. It's 18 all the time. So I sometimes feel a little bit cold, and I sometimes feel a little bit warm.
Why don't you just open the window?
Well, you shouldn't do. When you've got sophisticated air conditioning, you don't open the window.
But you're eating more fuel by having the air conditioning on.
Anyway, look, the problem is, I put this together with a Japanese study, okay, which monitors body fat levels, and they did this over
Where's this one
36...
from?
Well, from Japan.
Oh, well, then you've got a specific, college.
I don't know which polytechnic is from in Japan, but anyway, the point is, what they did is for 6 weeks, they discovered that setting...
The Krakatoa Institute.
Well, whatever, yeah. Don't make fun, please. Japan's a very advanced society. Right, they set the thermostat at a low level, and that saw an increase in the proportion of brown fat being produced inside people's bodies, okay? And brown fat has a primary function.
What that is.
No, it has a primary function to generate body heat in animals, right? And obviously we're like animalistic, and harmful white fat deposits suddenly disappear. Okay? Now temperatures above 25 degrees centigrade result in weight loss through increased sweating and loss of appetite, but not in the same proportion by any means as the calorie fight against the cold. So that's the way to do it, and this is a very, very serious proposition.
But are you saying that there are two things going on here? One, if you just sat in a house that was colder, you would actually lose weight.
You would,
or that it would, because it was so cold, it would actually get you out to do some exercise and run about.
Well, it would be both.
Either or.
It would be both. No, it'd be both.
You know, it used to be so cold in because when we then moved from the flat upstairs to the flat downstairs where we lived.
Was that a bigger flat?
It was a bigger flat.
Get your own bedroom then.
I got my own bedroom
then. So you didn't sleep in the kitchen anymore.
I also had a smaller kitchen, so I couldn't sleep in there.
Right. Okay.
And there were times when it was so cold. We used to have those Dimplex heaters. You know those ones that you could plug into the wall.
Yeah.
And they were like looked like a radiator, but it was a plug-in radiator.
Right.
It used to get moved. We had one of them, right? It used to get moved from one room to the other to try and heat up for their various rooms. It never worked.
So who gets the heater tonight type thing, was it?
Yeah. And so most of the time it was in the lounge because that's where everyone was watching the TV. So you go into the bedroom, and I used to actually sleep with a ski hat on. It was so cold.
I used to sleep with
all my clothes on, socks and a hat.
I couldn't see out the window of my bedroom because the ice was on the inside.
Yeah.
We didn't have central heating when I was a kid, and in fact, I don't think we got it until I went off to university and came back and suddenly saw central heating in the house.
But it hasn't stopped you being, shall we say, slightly overweight, if you don't mind me saying so.
Hang on, I'm a couple of decades on now, and the muscles...
So you were always sort of stocky, though,
No,
weren't you?
I wasn't. The muscle structure in a man starts to sag a little bit as you go through the ages. You know, there's nothing you can do about it, I'm afraid. It's just nothing you can do.
Once you get past about 58.
No, once you get past about sort of 48. And apart from having it sliced off, there's nothing you can do about it at all, you know? And so that's what you have to live with. But as a young man, I was incredibly fit. In fact, funnily enough, people always comment about my calf muscles because they're extraordinarily developed. I mean, they're massive. I could have been, honestly, I could have been Spring-Heeled Jack at something, perhaps high jumping or something like that, you know.
I don't think you can jump very high.
Well...
How about low jumping?
No, don't be silly. And one of the reasons for that is because I was lithe, you know, as a kid. I mean, when I was playing football for English grammar schools when I was 18, I used to cover so much ground on the field that the goalkeepers used to say to me, I don't know how you do it. You just never stop. You cover every blade of grass,
like
you know?
Michael Bradley.
Who's he?
He plays for a USA team. He covered the most ground of any footballer during the World Cup.
Did he really?
He did.
That's excellent.
I think
excellent
going up to the quarter-finals, he'd run for 24 miles.
Wow, that is incredible. Of course, I don't know that these days, because if I did, I would die. Because, unfortunately, it must have taken a toll on my heart over the years, which is now completely knackered. Sorry, yeah, it would keep you warm. But look, I swear to you, everybody thinks, you know, that I've got this somewhat exaggerated, but I haven't.
No,
we
listen, like many of your
we talk about the central heating from people's homes, they'd get thinner.
Actually, like many of your theories, I think there is a grain of truth in it.
No, not a grain of truth. There's a basis of truth.
But as ever, the problem is you're being slightly draconian, and I don't think anyone in their right mind would be able to kind of carry out such a policy, because first of all, it would victimise people, which people are not allowed to.
I would.
I would. But then you'd have to come up with a scale of at what point do you take somebody's radiator out, at what, you know, do you work it on the BMI level, you know, the body mass index?
Probably.
In which case, people would be coming around to take your radiators out.
No, they wouldn't.
And mine.
No, they wouldn't. Not at all. Not at
Yeah,
all.
they would.
No, they wouldn't,
Because there are people in this country, clinicians, for example, doctors, who would describe both of us as obese.
No, rubbish.
They would.
Rubbish.
I'm not saying that they're right, but that's what they would
Unless
say.
I've got a knackered knee, and I've explained all about my knee tonight and the problems that I'm having with it, I'm walking 20 or 30 miles a week. Now, you can't be obese doing that. If you're obese, you wouldn't be able to walk 20 or 30 yards.
Obesity is not defined by how far you walk.
Obesity is defined by the weight of your body, and the heavier it is, the more difficult it is to haul around. I mean, for instance, you know, I can sprint up steps. Well, my knee's not knackered, obviously. You can't sprint up steps with a knackered knee,
No.
because if you've got a ruptured medial ligament in your knee and you sprinted up steps...
It's a bad idea.
Well, you'd wreck your knee. You'd never be able to walk again.
Is there any sign that your knee's going to get better, by the way? We're just going to have to deal with it now.
No, we'll get better. We'll get better. I might start walking again next week, because it's slowly
But
getting
that might
better.
make it worse.
Well, it might, so I've got to be very careful how I do it. But, I mean, that's another story. So the point I'm making is that, of course, you put on weight as you get older. We all do.
And you find it more difficult to lose that weight.
You do find it more difficult to lose, but you shouldn't put it on in the first place. If you look after your body, you won't. That's all I'm telling you. And, you know, if people... See, the whole society's too comfortable. The whole of society's too comfortable. 2/3 of homes in this country, in some way, are assisted by the state in their household finances, OK?
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of benefits
we're
that
just
people
all
get,
too comfortable.
which are universal as well. I mean, some of the universal benefits, like child benefit, are ridiculous as well. Here's one, shall we say, from, here we go, David in Essex. He says, Mike, I've got a friend for Porky who has an interest in the Royal Navy. Porky could tell her what size cannonballs Lord Nelson used at the Battle of Waterloo.
Why?
Because you remember when you said that Lord Nelson had won the Battle of Waterloo?
Yeah.
Which wasn't correct, was it?
No, he won the Battle of Trafalgar.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's the point that David in Essex is making.
By the way, do you know, because I read about this recently, do you know most people in Europe think that Napoleon won the Battle of Waterloo?
Really?
Oh, yeah, they've got... Oh, you go around Europe now and go to, you know, any sort of...
Well, this brings us back to Angela Merkel and Germany, doesn't it?
Well, I'll be telling you about that in a minute. But the Napoleon thing is, there's a fixation about Napoleon across Europe. You go to lots of... You know, like when we had the British Empire, you could go to some far-flung post and find a miniature version of Big Ben in the town square, which was the clock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And you'd always find a statue of Queen Victoria, wouldn't you? You know, go to...
I didn't go to that many far-flung parts of the
Well,
Empire, but I'll take your word for it.
I did. You've got well, we all went to the Caribbean when we were in America and all that. You often saw a statue of Queen Victoria or a miniature version of Big Ben or something like that.
Oh, the towns were named after Victoria or something, weren't they?
I think I went to the Seychelles once and there was a statue of Queen Victoria in the Seychelles.
Yeah.
I don't know why they were there, but I'm not sure we owned the Seychelles. But anyway, the story is you see them all over the world. Now,
Capital of the Seychelles is Victoria, apparently.
Oh,
So there you
it is, yeah. Is it? That's right. I thought it was Mahe.
Well, maybe it's been renamed.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Like Mumbai.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. Anyway, point of my story is
What is the point of the story?
what was I talking about here? Oh yes, right. So in Europe, you go to any of these little villages in or around the route of that Napoleon took on his way back from Elba.
Yeah.
Or no, it wasn't Elba where he was.
Well, he was exiled, you mean?
Where he was exiled. No, it was Elba was where he died. Able was I ere I saw Elba. What's famous about that statement?
No idea.
You can write it back to front and it says exactly the same. Think about it.
You mean it's like Madam, I'm Adam?
Yes.
Do you know what that's called?
No.
It's a palindrome.
Palindrome. Able was I ere I saw Elba. You can write back to front. It says exactly the same thing, right?
Right.
But it was
Why
actually...
was he bothered?
Wasn't it St Hilda's or somewhere where he was exiled and he broke out and came back? And
I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but anyway, his route back to France, right,
From wherever this place was.
to retake the Republic, all those towns he went through have all got statues of Napoleon, victor of the Battle of Waterloo.
Well, it's hardly all over Europe, is it?
Well, it is. It is.
I think if you go to Paris, they're not going to tell you that you won it, are they?
Yeah, a lot of people there think he did.
Really? Are you sure?
Believe me, a lot of people there. The way that the propaganda has been written over the last, 150, 200 years is that Napoleon won the Battle of Waterloo.
Well, there we are. Oh, well, at least they got the Battle of Trafalgar, you mean?
Battle of Trafalgar. You keep... No. Battle of Waterloo, you fool. Trafalgar was at sea.
Here's what Roman says. Who wouldn't want to be friends with Porky? A man who knows fun and a man with wide intelligence. Can I book him for tomorrow?
Quite right.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. Mr. Mike Parry is here, and it is a Two Mike special. There will be a podcast coming up a bit later on. Interesting one here from Johnny in Donny, who's texted into 81089. Says, there's nothing weird about being averse to herbs and spices. I can't stand thyme. It makes me ill.
Thyme, is that?
Thyme.
T-H-Y-M-E?
T-H-Y-M-E, yeah.
Yeah, well, I like basil. Basil's my favourite
Is it?
herb. Yeah, I love it. I put it in my spaghetti bolognese, and
Yeah,
it's
you
great.
should, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you not put oregano in that?
yeah, a bit of oregano. I don't mind thyme, and also bay leaves.
Yeah.
And something else, but I forgot
So
what
you
it
don't
is.
put garlic in your spaghetti
No,
bolognese?
no, of course I don't. I don't put garlic
You
in
ever
anything.
tried buying that lazy garlic you can buy in a jar?
What's that?
It's just for people who can't be bothered chopping garlic up and peeling it.
Well, I don't like any form of garlic.
Well, you
so...
might try that, because it is good for you. I mean, I've got one here from a regular listener, Ellie, who
Yeah.
says if you ate some garlic, you might not need all those tablets you're taking every day.
Yeah, well,
Because garlic thins the blood as well. Is that not what you want?
Well, maybe garlic does thin the blood, but I mean, I'll tell you, the tablets are like beta blockers to keep the heart going,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
But they thin the blood, don't they?
No, that's warfarin.
Oh, right.
I don't take warfarin.
Don't take
Warfarin
that.
is for people who are sadly sort of housebound, bedbound, or something like that. You've got to thin the blood because the blood.
Just take their radiators out. That'll sort them out.
Well, it would help. I mean, you mock, but it'd help. Anyway, listen, got some messages here. This comes from Stephen. He says, to the two mics.
Let's see if we can manage to read any of these out.
What-
I mean, every
what's
week
your
we
problem?
try and get you to read out tweets.
I don't know what
And
your
you can't
problem is.
manage to do it.
Well, the light keeps going off on my phone. Right, here we go. Right, and then when I try and switch it back on, all the words disappear. Right, this is from Stephen Ball. He says to the two mics and TalkSport, he says, we all hope you're feeling better, Mike, that's me. Fat people need to exercise and eat a balanced diet, then they'd get thin. It's not rocket science. Thank you very much indeed, Stephen. One here. Right, this is from Stuart. He's having a go at you here, Mike. He says, old MG, struggling tonight with his attacks on teachers, really disappointed with him. Hopefully that the other Mike will put him straight.
Yeah,
So-
well, you won't know, will you? Because you
Well-
agree with me about the teachers, I presume. You don't think they should be on strike, do you?
Well, I don't think they should be on strike, but I mean, I'm not as sort of viciously positioned against them as you are, because I haven't got children, obviously. So my children...
I wouldn't describe my position as viciously against them at all.
I think you'll find it is.
I'm talking perfect common sense. Every parent knows it.
Now, there's one here from Josh. He's been a bit mischievous here. He says to old MG, is it just me, or does it sound like the other Mike has a bit of a man crush on Rude Hullet?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think
I
so
don't think
either.
so at all.
I just thought he looked exotic, for
Yeah.
want of a better word, with dreadlocks.
He did.
And one here. Here we go. It's this is aimed at you, Mike. You've got the other Mike in the studio. You've been together for 3 minutes. This is the start of the show, obviously. And MG has to ask, what is the point of this story? I figure it will be a long 3 hours ahead. Well, don't worry, we'll make it go as quickly as we can.
But
Okay.
that's a reference to an awful lot of people say, how many times is Mike Parry going to say, and the point of my story is...
Well, that's because
And
you
know what
never
was really
get it.
weird? You know what was really weird? I think it was Monday night, perhaps, or maybe last Thursday. You went through the whole show and you never said it once.
Is that right?
And
Well,
normally you say it about 15 times
No,
an hour.
no, I don't. It's because when you don't pick up quickly, because you're a bit of a dumbbell, excuse me, I have to point it out. Now then, Kevin Gardner says, I hope that old Porky tells his the light's gone out again. Yeah, tells his renter friend that he's a psychopath. Well, I'm not a psychopath.
Did we not do the test? Did we not work out that you were a psychopath?
Of course not. Don't be silly.
By
Right.
the way, the test we've got coming up for you later on, you're going to enjoy this one this week. Because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not going to test your knowledge. It's actually going to test your ability to answer a straight question with a straight answer. Because
not a
there have been
problem.
many people who have accused you of being a bit of a politician when it comes to being put on the spot. When you're actually asked a direct question,
Yeah.
can you actually answer it?
Not a problem. And final one here from James McManus. That's a nice name, McManus. There was a Mick McManus, wasn't there? The
There was a
wrestler.
wrestler,
Remember?
yeah. Yeah.
Saturday afternoon wrestling. And he says to MG, help Porky with his weight problem by soaking all his food in garlic puree. Therefore, he'd never
And
eat
you never
very
actually
much.
eat it.
That's right, yeah.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about the Germans, because
Yeah, let's do
you've
that.
got to
I
be in your
agree.
bonnet about
I agree.
Germany.
Well,
I'll tell you
I
what-
haven't got to be in my bonnet.
Well, I mean, what we've all said is
Yeah.
that, I mean, I said this the other night. Do you not wonder, here's a theory of mine just for a change.
Yeah, go on.
Do you not wonder and think it may be possible that the Champions League is the kind of, the harbinger of things to come? Because you remember when Barcelona and Real Madrid were sort of dominating the Champions League?
Yeah.
Barcelona in particular, I suppose. And then they suddenly got wiped, the floor was wiped for them by Bayern Munich.
Yes.
When they won it at Wembley, when they beat Borussia Dortmund, and it was an all-German final, right? Now, when Spain were in the ascendancy during the World Cup years and the Euro years,
Yeah.
that was when Barcelona were really good. Now the Germans are getting sort of slightly better because Bayern Munich have been so good.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that, whoever wins the Champions League, in the immediate 2 years before a Euros Championship or a World Cup,
Yeah.
that country is going to win the World Cup.
Well, look,
You've taken no notice of that at all.
I
have you?
did. I took
You're
it all
about
in.
to say nothing about it.
No. I took
You're
it
about
all
to
in.
move on to your point.
No, I took it all in, and I'm about to respond to you because one of my best friends in the world of sports journalism is Martin Lipton.
Yes.
From the Mirror. So I'm not going to try and steal Martin's ideas, but he wrote a piece this week in the Mirror in which he explains the difference between what we do in this country football-wise and what the Germans do.
Right.
So he says that actually their success this week goes right back to Euro 2004.
Yeah.
He says that was the last competition. In fact, I covered that. That was the... That was Portugal. It was the European Championships in Portugal.
Right.
Greece won it that year, actually.
They did,
so it was a strange
out of
competition.
nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. But anyway, he says that they went out in the group stages without even qualifying from the group. And he said...
And this was what? This was 2004, did you say?
2004.
So would that not have been... so it would have been 2 Euros or 8 years later since they'd won anything, right? Because they won the Euros in '96, didn't they?
No, I think they actually, in 2002, believe it or not, were the beaten World Cup finalists in Tokyo.
Yeah, but they hadn't won it, though.
Well, it's pretty close, isn't it? That's what I'm saying. They were still a major power in 2002. You're absolutely right. They won it in this country in '96. Penalty shootout in the semis against England, obviously. Went on to beat Czechoslovakia, I think it was. And so they immediately decided to do something about it, okay? So what they did is they went out and built 366 youth training centres across the country for 11 to 14-year-olds, okay? And demanded that referees who held junior games had an absolute duty to report after every game to the Dutch Football Association, Football Bundesliga or whatever it's called.
Not the Dutch one, surely.
Sorry, the German one. D
that
for
would have given it away, wouldn't it?
D for Deutschland.
Deutschland, yes.
Deutschland, the Deutschland Football Association. To report outstanding children they saw playing. So they weren't relying on coaches and all that, relying on the referees, okay? So out of that, then move on a few years, and in 2009
and from what sort of age? From like a very young age?
11 to 14.
Okay, right.
11 to 14. Right, in 2009, in Gothenburg, Germany beat England 4-0 to win the European Under-21 title.
Right.
6 members of that team played the other night.
Yeah.
How about that?
Amazing, isn't it?
Now, I mean...
And many of those players who are like Ozil, for example, have got like 40 and 50 caps for the country.
That's right.
It's not as if they've only got 10 or 12, right?
That's right. And apparently it's all to do with the amount of German players who play in the German league. And I didn't know this, but did you know that a German TV company called Kirch, who were the German equivalent of Sky, collapsed? They just went belly up financially some years ago. And that starved the Bundesliga of
money.
And also...
And is that why they brought in that rule that they could only have certain foreign players playing?
It was already there. It was already there, and it wasn't to do with foreign players, it's to do with ownership. And 49% of every German club can be owned by somebody else, but 51% is owned locally, and therefore they don't have any foreign investment, not the extent of foreign investment that we do, and therefore they're not looking out for exotic players costing 50 million quid and all this kind of stuff.
And places like Bayern Munich will still sign the Iron Robbins of this world and various other sort of superstars, won't they?
Of course they will, and they do. But what I'm saying is they've still got a greater number of. They've got like nearly 50% of the players in Germany are German, whereas it's only 33% here. You know what I mean? Now that's the modern thing. That's football and all that. But what I want to get to, Mike, is the whole history of Germany. Germany emerged from the Prussian Empire, right? And the values instilled into people in those days by Frederick the Great, going back as far as the mid-18th century, right, are what have made the Germans what they are today. And if you go through, I mean, look, we've had, obviously, unfortunate wars with Germany, First World War, Second World War and all that. But if you come out of every one and read some of the historical manuals that I have read, because I'm a study of military history, seriously, right, you will find that in most cases, the adversaries of any German army say they were the best soldiers in the world that never beat us. You know what I mean? They huge respect for the Luftwaffe, huge respect for the German army. What was the German army called?
I don't know.
No, what were they called? No, there's the Luftwaffe and there's the German Navy, and I can't remember in my head now. But I mean, it's a special name. The Wehrmacht, the Wehrmacht, and they were the best soldiers in the world. And then when you go into post-war Germany, the story is quite astonishing. How come is it that out of post-war Europe, Germany was the most bombed country in the end, because in the end the Allies sort of got them, if you see what I mean? And yet their manufacturing industry returned stronger than any other industry in this country.
Well, that's because of the Marshall Plan, wasn't it?
Well, a lot of it's to do with the Marshall Plan, but I'd say a lot of it was to do with the will of the German people inherited from Frederick the Great. And that means that Mercedes recovered, BMW recovered, a lot of our top engineering companies are now owned by the Germans, but our great companies, like Rover, like Austin, like even Jaguar, which has only been revived by investment from India, all collapsed because we didn't have the will to do it. We didn't have the strength of character. See, one of the great things about Germans is they don't celebrate. Do you see when the German...
because they expect to win the World Cup, getting to the semi-final, getting to the final and losing is not good enough for them.
When the German team won the other night, 7-1 against Brazil, not one single German player celebrated.
Well, they did actually, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I mean, what I'm saying
ridiculous.
is, that, you know, like everybody else is running from the touchline, piling on top of each other and that kind of stuff.
Didn't do any of
The
that.
Germans don't do that. And their attitude to life is that the pursuit of excellence is absolute. That could be the motto of the German people. And until we in this country adopt a motto like that, the pursuit of excellence is absolute, we're never going to be able to live up to the success and the aspirations of the German nation.
No, I don't think so. They're very good at timekeeping as well, unlike you. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Loads more coming next. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes. There'll be a podcast coming out a little bit later on iTunes, of course. We've got lots and lots to talk about. We are giving Porky a test a little bit later on about asking a straight question and getting a straight answer.
Yeah,
Fascinating
I have no
what you were
problem with
saying.
that.
Fascinating what you were saying earlier about Germany. We'll be talking, hopefully, coming up in a little while to a director of the Metropolitan Ovals, the United States Soccer Federation Development Academy, because you know what we've seen, I suppose, over the course of the last 10 or 20 years is that is, you know, if you start at the bottom, then you do get some fruit from it. But of course, people would say that's what Roy Hodgson is trying to do now, because he's trying to put in place, this Academy of Excellence at St George's Park. He's trying to make
But
sure
he's
that
fighting against, Mike. I mean, another thing that makes German people better than most is they don't have tattoos. Now, what we're fighting against in
that's
this
a bit
country...
of a sweeping statement.
No, it's not a
Are you
sweeping
telling
statement.
me I cannot find one German person with a tattoo?
Well, you might find a few dropouts, a few deadbeats who've rejected the discipline of German society or something like that,
No,
and
because I
still
think you'll find
hang
that
around
tattoos are now
drinking
universally...
Metz where the Berlin Wall used to
No,
be.
your tattoos are now universally, worn by almost everybody.
I don't think so.
of a
And you see,
certain age.
what fighting this country is, we're fighting against kids who think having a tattoo is more important than having discipline and a disciplined life. By the way, I was glad to see a story about a woman this week who lost her job. I don't like anybody to lose their job, but because she had a tattoo on her foot, and
What was her job?
her job was an office-based job. Right, and it was at something like a sort of headhunters sort of organisation, something like that. And they didn't like the fact she had a tattoo on her foot, and they asked her if she'd get it removed. She said no, and they said, well, I'm sorry, but, you don't fit in around here anymore. Now, although I hate to see
That
people
seems a
losing
bit
their job...
draconian, doesn't it?
Well, no, because I think that the whole idea... I mean, look, do you see any tattoos on me?
No, I don't.
Right, I don't have tattoos.
Except
okay?
for that kind of weird mottling around your right knee.
Well, that's
which
not a
looks like
tattoo.
it could be a tattoo.
That's not a tattoo. That's
Yeah, I know, but it's even
that's
more unpleasant.
inflamed tissue.
But I'd rather look at a tattoo of a dragon or something than look at that.
Well, I don't want you to look at my knee. I only showed it you to illustrate to you the pain that I'm suffering doing this show with you, sitting here, having to put up with, a great deal of your damn stupidity as well
Yeah, but
as
I
the
can
pain
see-
of
what I can say to you is,
a withered knee.
I, like you, and I'm sure many other people now, sort of slightly recoil in horror when you see the number of tattoos that footballers have, and the big sleeves that they have, and the whole arm, and
Exactly.
the whole back, and all that.
No, you don't see
But-
any German
but-
footballers with that, do you?
Well, I don't think you're right about that. Actually.
No, you
And in
didn't
fact,
say-
We'll have to
I-
ask. We'll have to ask for pictures to be sent in, because I bet you there are footballers who play for Germany.
I'm
who've got
telling you, the
tattoos.
tattoo factor is a big illustration of how efficient and how well run a nation is, and Germany's very well run.
Well, it is very well run, and it's run very differently from this country, and I'm not sure this country could ever run like that. But we'll carry on this conversation. Let's take a phone call in between.
Let's do that.
And Sean, who's a Liverpool fan, calling in from Liverpool. Hi, Sean.
Hi, two Mikes, you okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
very well,
hi,
sir.
Sean, very good, mate.
What do you want to say?
I was just saying tonight, Mike, I think what it should do, that Luis Suarez deal, Liverpool should just plug in now, because at the end of the day, Barcelona should make sure that Alexis Sanchez should have been going to Liverpool a part of the deal. He hasn't gone, he's gone to Arsenal. Good luck to the lad anyway, but Liverpool should just cut the deal off now.
Well, hang on, isn't that cutting off your nose to spite your face, Sean? The point is you need the 80 million, and you'll still get 80 million, even though he's got the ban. And a man like Brendan Rodgers, I'm certain, will have already figured out 3 or 4 players he can bring in for that 80 million.
Yeah, but Mike, they're not giving Liverpool the £80 million. It was on the news. They're giving Liverpool €40 million up front. That's what they've been waiting for, to sell Alexis Sanchez to Arsenal. All they give Liverpool is €40 million up front, which is about £36 million.
Well, that's not bad. That's a nice little transfer kitty to start the season with.
What can you buy with £36 million today?
Well, you already have, haven't you? Who's the player you signed for? Hang on, you signed somebody yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, we've got Adam Lallana. We've just signed Nicky Lambert. We're supposed to be getting the player from Benfica on.
That's the guy I'm thinking about. Yeah.
He's supposed to be signing someone on for 25 million, but nothing's gone through yet. Something to do with the medical, so that'll be going through today or Saturday, do you reckon? But at the end of the day, Mike, we're looking for the top world-class striker to replace Luis Suarez, and who's around now to replace him?
There aren't many of them around. He's one of the top 3 players in the world. And with the greatest respect, one of the top 3 players in the world can have a couple of seasons at Liverpool, no doubt about it, but then probably has the ambition to play for the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids, or the Bayern Munichs, or possibly even the Manchester Uniteds of this world.
Well, I wouldn't say Manchester United will go anywhere again next year, because they're going to struggle again next season. It doesn't matter about the Dutch manager going there. They will still struggle, Mike, next season.
I don't think they will. I don't think they'll win the Premier League title, but I think they'll be back in the top 4 probably. But hey, listen, Sean, while you're on, what about the plan to redevelop Anfield rather than move out into Stanley Park? Are you a fan of that?
Yes, I am, mate. That's where Anfield's there for Liverpool. I don't want to move to a new ground. I say just build up to 69,000 and we'll be happy, because, as you know, Mike, Liverpool got 70,000 on the wait list for season tickets. Yeah,
I'm very pleased that you're doing that, because, you know, we've knocked down far too many of our old stadiums in England and replaced them with really, you know, tawdry imitations of football stadiums. A football stadium is a cathedral to the fans who go there because of the character it's developed over 150 years. And Spurs down in London have got a similar plan to rebuild their stadium, but I don't think their plans are anything like as advanced as the Anfield plans are. So I wish you luck at that one.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, thanks very much indeed, Sean. Now, bizarrely, while you were talking to Sean, I was just trying to find some German footballers with tattoos, and there are some, but I'll tell you what I did find, which is going to feed into your rather strange argument.
Go on.
Back in 2011, Werder Bremen actually banned its players from getting any more tattoos.
There you go.
Isn't that strange?
That's exactly what I say. I mean, you know, we don't quite understand. Look, Germany used to try and seize power by going to war. But they don't do that anymore. They learnt after the Second World War that it's not a really good idea.
They're not very good at it either.
Well, it's not that they're very good at it. It's just that in the end, you know, you smash up countries. It takes, you know, decades to recover and all that. So what they did is they turned into an economic power. Now, Germany's so rich now, so much richer than every other European country, including France and England, that they actually now pay the Greeks and the Spanish to buy their motor cars.
Yeah, but that's all part of the whole kind of European myth that they've created, as Germany at the centre of the new Europe, right? And what they've done is they've co-opted all these countries into Europe, thereby making themselves richer, making these other countries poorer, and actually screwing up the whole European Union altogether. The European Union was meant to be a collection of 7 countries. It was meant to be a trading bloc. Angela Merkel has been trying to make it into this massive, huge kind of political bloc, right? Yeah. Which I think is entirely wrong.
Well, I think it's entirely wrong, but she does know that, you see, Germany didn't just become the richest country in Europe by mistake. They've got skills that others haven't. We haven't got them in England. France haven't got them. Italy haven't got them.
I'm not sure that's true.
And Germany. Well, why is Germany so successful?
I think Germany is a much more, shall we say, law-abiding country. It's full of people.
I agree with that.
And by that, I don't mean just breaking laws which are criminal. I mean actually abiding by rules. Right? If you say to a group of English people, we want you to apply to do exactly as we say, we want to go and stand over there. Most of the time, we'll say we're not doing it. We're not interested, right? And as far as the Germans are concerned, if you say to German people, go and stand over there and wait for 5 minutes, they'll all go and wait there very patiently.
I know.
They're quite happy to do that.
And do you know, about 10 years ago, or shortly after the Thatcher Revolution, Germany discovered that their welfare bill was starting to creep up, and that they'd become loose and sloppy in the management of their finances, despite the fact that they'd been a powerhouse to Europe.
They'd also invited a load of Turkish guest workers to come and work in the country, of which Mesut Ozil was the progeny.
Exactly. So you know what they did? They suddenly cut back on it, and they
kicked them all out.
1.5% a year. They cut back on the welfare budget, and so brought it right down, so that now the welfare budget in this country looks bloated, and Germany's looks efficient. But you see,
by the way, here's a picture of Lucas Podolski. He's a German player with a tattoo.
Let's have a look. Yeah, but that's not much of a tattoo, is it, compared to the things that you see in this country?
Well, it's still a tattoo.
The sleeve, yeah, but it's underneath his arm. And if it's underneath his arm, then it's partially hidden, and therefore not offensive to others.
How can you see it, then?
Now, what I'm...
You see it when he raises his arm, and when he scores a goal, when he's wearing a short sleeve.
I don't
football
find that
shirt.
offensive. Not like it. Not like.
So what do you find offensive in tattoos then?
Well, a young man like Ross Barkley having a sleeve done from his wrist right up to the top of his shoulder at that age, to have it done like that, I just wish he thought a little bit more about it.
But there's more
because Ross
footballers
Barkley's
with
going to be
those.
one of the world's great footballers.
But
You know,
there's more footballers with those kind of tattoos now than there are without.
No, you understand, don't you? You understand that football is, I mean, the result that Germany got the other night wasn't just the result of a football match. They once again put their foot on the face of the rest of Europe. Because when you go back with a massive result like that, even if you don't now win, and I think they will win, you come back as World Cup winners to Europe from South America, the first ever to do it, and all of a sudden, you not only run Europe economically and financially, you win it, you rule it morally. Because you know that Germany actually started its financial revival by winning the World Cup in 1954 in Austria, when Austria were the best team in the world, and that triggered their economic revival. Germany put a huge premium, a massive premium, on the success of their international football team, because they realise it raises morale in the country and people work more efficiently
Yeah, well, we can't
and
do
make
that
it a
here.
better country.
Well, we can't do this
but
here.
the opposite happens here. The opposite happens here because we don't take enough interest, the government or politicians, in our football team. It means that we were hopeless at the World Cup. We're absolutely dispirited, depressed, remorseful,
Speak for yourself.
downtrodden,
I'm not.
downbeaten, face rubbed in the mud by Germany, and we feel awful about ourselves. That will affect our economic performance. That will affect our economic performance and could well stall our economic recovery.
I'm not sure I go along with that, but
well,
we'll
you
touch
should,
some more
because
about
you
this.
don't know enough about it.
Well,
You-
you don't
I mean,
let me
you're-
get a
you're-
word- well, you don't let me get a word in edgewise to try and actually counter some of your ridiculous
Your
arguments.
economic knowledge is like minuscule.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about your knowledge later on in the quiz, which will put straight questions to you about your economic knowledge, amongst many other things. We'll talk to Dennis, who's a Liverpool fan in Tunbridge Wells, coming up next. This is Talk Sport.
I know it's late, but this can't wait. I just got a new tattoo. One woman, you're my new tattoo.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. Got a lot of texts and tweets coming in about German players with tattoos. Ozil's got one, Podolski, as I've shown you a picture of,
Yeah.
and Klose has one as well.
Yeah, but they don't have many.
Although, I mean, see, I'm surprised you didn't make the argument that you could have made there.
What's that?
The argument is that Podolski, Klose, and
not German.
Ozil are not actually
Exactly.
perhaps originally German.
Exactly.
Although they do play for the German team.
Exactly, but I mean, funnily enough, I had a tweet here. Look, it's just gone again. Hang on. What's it say here? Let me have a look when I find it.
We haven't
Right,
got time for this.
hang on. It says, Mike, why didn't you point out to MG that Podolski was not born in Germany, and that's from Bantam Bouncer. And I've got another.
Yeah, why didn't you? We just already discussed that.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Well,
So
Bantam
can you not
Bouncer.
read them out like before I say something like that? to
Well,
you?
Bantam Bouncer only sent this 4 minutes ago, so he obviously hasn't been listening. So anyway, look, there's a lad here called John Baker who's getting really upset because, and his Twitter address is Rebe, because he says, I'm giving a shout out to everybody else's name except his. Right, Porky, I'll get this back. Right, Porky, you read those tweets out, mentioned who sent them, apart from mine. Did your stupid phone go off again, you numpty? Well, that's very nice, John. Thank you very much indeed for being so polite. I will never mention you again. Do you understand me? And whilst we're at it, by the way, it's Mike Parry 8, and
IROMG and at TS Extra Time. Here's one from Jim who says,
Yeah.
Mr. Parry mentioned that tattoos can affect efficiency.
Yes.
One of the greatest Englishmen of all time who guided our country with great efficiency through a world war was, of course, Winston Churchill. He had a tattoo of an anchor on his left forearm, and his mother, Lady Randolph Churchill, had a snake tattooed on her wrist. Did you know
well,
that?
I can't either confirm or deny that. All I can say is that it was quite common for men in the Navy, the Royal Navy, to have tattoos. It was
Yeah.
actually quite traditional. And, of course, although Winston Churchill...
But they're much
Sir
bigger
Winston
now, aren't
Churchill, yeah, much bigger, yeah. But he was never in the Navy, but he was, of course, War Minister at
Yes.
one time, and I think he did that in association with being bonding with the servicemen. Because, I mean, we had armies in those days of over 1 million people.
Well, he may
So-
have also been one
so-
of those people from that particular kind of toffee-nosed set, if you want to, for want of a better description, who would sort of have spent their youth going around the world and on merchant ships and all that kind of thing, and maybe got one in Singapore.
Well, he
or
didn't
something.
actually, did he? He was a reporter, wasn't he? And he reported for the Times of London on the Boer War.
Yeah, but he might have got one there then.
Well, he might have done. He might
That's
have
what
done.
I'm saying.
Or on the boat getting there, or the boat getting back.
Let's
They
talk
didn't
to,
fly when they were covering the Boer War because there weren't any aeroplanes.
No, that would have been difficult.
Yeah,
Let's talk
it
to
would,
Dennis, who's a Liverpool fan in Tunbridge Wells. Hello, Dennis.
Good morning, the two mates.
Yeah, hi, Dennis.
What would you like to say, Dennis?
About the Suarez.
About who?
Luis Suarez.
Yeah, go on, yeah.
I think finally my dream is coming true.
What dream is that?
Oh, you know, Mike, I think I spoke to you guys last week.
Yeah.
You know, when you like somebody so much and you think he's a great player, and you keep breaking your heart all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's time now the club cut their tie and get rid of him. And
Well, they are getting rid of him.
I had a dream last night, right? I don't know if it's true or not, but we wait and see. That Lukaku is going to replace him.
Lukaku to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Well, supposedly he wants to get out of Chelsea, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a dream that he's going
Lukaku's
to
nothing
replace
like
him.
Lukaku's nothing like as good as Suarez, though. Is
No, he's not.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I doubt Liverpool would
We
buy
are-
him because he's already played for Everton.
Yeah, but, you know, he was on loan.
Yeah, well, he was on loan, I know, but he did play for Everton. By the way, mate, did I?
Have you ever had a dream that came true?
No, I don't
Thanks
think
for
so.
that, Dennis.
But I do have very vivid dreams.
Do you?
Yeah, well, I don't drink alcohol
Do you think
much
that's as a
these days.
what?
And that gives you very vivid dreams,
Well,
really.
if you don't drink.
Yeah, it does, yeah. Have you not noticed that? No, of course you wouldn't, because you're permanently on the old...
I'm not permanently sore
slosh.
on the
Yeah.
the drink. I hardly drink at all.
By the way, I forgot to tell you, because of this terrible tooth thing I'm having at the moment...
Is that still going on?
Well, I've now got I've now
Did
got
you not put a crown on it?
yeah, I've got a temporary crown.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought the other one was temporary.
Well, that was temporary in an
Short-term
emergency.
temporary.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
short-term temporary in
This
an
is
emergency.
long-term temporary.
And this is long-term temporary till a week next Tuesday when I have the proper crown.
Yeah, they're
put
really
on.
dragging this out,
I know,
aren't
£700 the crown, by the way, and that's only part of the
Yeah.
the
they? What's it made of? Ivory.
I don't know, the implants I've got to have. But anyway, the point of the story is, so I said to my guy, who is a brilliant dentist, by the way, he's a doctor, you know, he's not just a dentist, he's a doctor
Wow.
dentist, you know what
Well,
I
you
mean?
could fix your knee as well,
And-
then.
and they're better.
You're
Well-
2 for 1 special.
No, he's not he's, what I'm saying is, he's a dental surgeon, so they call him Dr. Cullen rather than Mr. Cullen.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
lots of people who call
And-
doctor. It doesn't make him a doctor.
No, most dentists are Mr. They're not Doctor, Mike. Most dentists
No,
are Mr.
surgeon. No, they're not
They are.
necessarily.
They are.
It
They
depends
are.
what they've studied.
No. Most dentists are Mr.
Yeah, that's
because
not
we
what- yeah,
don't
but-
give dentists a doctor prefix.
No, I realise
but
that.
he's so
I
good.
realise that, but
and
there are
knows
many-
so much and is
Yeah,
so
but-
knowledgeable.
yeah, but there are
and
many
can
ways-
fix people's faces when they get smashed up in car crashes that he's called doctor.
Yeah, but there are
okay?
many, because if he's a surgeon, yes, that would
Yeah,
be. But actually, generally speaking, in medical circles, if you're a GP, you're called doctor.
Yeah.
But if you're a surgeon, you're called Mister.
Anyway,
how confusing is that?
it's not confusing. Anyway, this guy.
What
now-
I was saying to you is that you can be called a doctor for any number of reasons. If I had a PhD,
Yeah.
I could call myself doctor.
Well,
you
I
could
suppose-
refer
I
to me
suppose
as
you
doctor.
could.
It's a bit pretentious.
Suppose you could. I worked with a lad at the Express who worked for me when I was the head honcho at the Express. His name was John.
When you were the
Ingham.
what?
Head honcho.
Head honcho.
Head honcho,
What,
sure.
I'm not sure there was a title for head honcho.
Well, it was like, you know, assistant editor brackets news
Okay.
and
Oh,
chief
yeah.
news editor and all that. You know what I mean?
assistant editor is
Yeah.
what you mean.
No,
It's not
no.
head honcho.
No, head honcho
don't
on the news
overblow
floor.
it.
On the news floor.
Okay.
You know, people trembled in my wake when I,
there
sat
was a lot
down
of
in my
reasons for
seat
that.
and started,
That's just I thought you
dictating
might invite them out for a drink.
the days of... That's a bit harsh. Anyway, look, the point I'm saying is, he knows something about teeth. So I said to him, what do you think about Luis Suarez's teeth?
Oh, yeah.
And
Good
he's...
person to ask.
Yes, exactly.
An expert.
Exactly. And he said he should have seen an orthodontist years ago.
Yes.
And I said, will that have helped? He said, almost certainly. He said the fact that he's got very protruding
Do
teeth.
you think that makes him bite more?
No, it doesn't make him bite more, but he has awareness of the fact that he has protruding teeth and therefore can be used as a weapon subliminally against
So
other
he's
people.
kind of conscious of it.
It's sort of no. He's kind of subliminally conscious of it, but not conscious of it. Now he told me something very interesting, and this guy goes to all sorts of international dental conferences.
Yes.
In fact, tell you what, I was going to Azerbaijan once at Gatwick Airport. You won't believe it. We're having a drink about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Of course you were.
Because
You don't drink very much. You know
no,
what I'm saying?
no, because there was
8
a lot.
o'clock,
There was
the
a lot.
bar's open. Let's go.
Actually, the bar opened at 7 at Gatwick. You wouldn't believe it. So we waited an hour, and it was a long day ahead. And we thought, well, we won't drink on the plane. We'll
Right.
probably fall asleep. So there's a quick drink here. But there were honestly, I'm not joking. There were a group of dentists. Well, not including my Dr. Cullen, in that bar about 7:30.
Well, but they also go to Azerbaijan.
No, they were going to Denmark for a dental conference,
Oh, right.
and they were all on the sauce. And I remember, and the reason we found out they were dentists was because we heard them talking about crowns and all that kind of stuff. So I can't believe what we're hearing here.
That's amazing. So dentists actually, when they're on their days off, talk about dental work.
Well, apparently they do. Anyway, look, the point of my story is...
What is the point of your story?
Right, he said to me, he once had a discussion at one of these international conferences about the Brazilian player, what was his called? Goofy. Was it Ronaldinho?
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo, that's right. Ronaldo. Who
The
I used to-
original Ronaldo.
Yeah, the original Ronaldo. No. The original Ronaldo was the fat guy.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I mean.
that's right, yeah.
That's him.
No, it wasn't him. It
Oh,
was
he
the
was
other,
quite goofy.
No, it was the other guy who scored the fantastic free kick against David Seaman in the World Cup. Ronaldinho.
Okay.
See, I said
The one who
Ronaldinho
looked like-
first.
No, you didn't.
I did.
The one who looked a bit like a horse.
Well, that's a very unkind thing to say, but you're referring to his teeth, obviously. Yeah, that's right.
But he had kind of long face as well.
Yes, he did. And he said to me, he said that once he started getting good at football at the age of about 14, he then had a brace in his teeth for the next 6 years to bring his teeth back into his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, well, but he still had prominent teeth when he was playing at the highest level in his mid-20s. He said, yeah. He said, you should have seen his teeth before they got the orthodontist involved. They were almost like...
almost horizontal.
Almost horizontal out of his mouth. You know, they were... So I said, well... Hang on, because of the dental practices you can have these days, why didn't they just take his teeth out and put some new ones in that were vertical rather than horizontal?
Well, you can't just do that, can you?
Well, he said that would have actually been, tantamount to sort of taking somebody's arm off and stitching another one on or something like that, you know what I mean?
Well, exactly, because his face was a particular shape.
Yeah, it was a particular shape, yeah.
But that's another funny thing, actually, that you see now, when in years gone by, braces on teeth was something that you didn't see very often on grown-ups. I mean, it was normally...
you see them all the time now.
Now, lots of people are having their teeth kind of put together, because we're now entering an era where people are going to have American-style teeth, where basically everybody opens their mouth and their teeth all look the same.
Well, I've told you about the implants. I could have a set of implants in my mouth, and I would have perfect ivory key teeth throughout my mouth. Thing is, it would cost £100,000.
There wouldn't be any point.
Well, yes,
the rest of your face wouldn't really look any different. It would just look weird. It's like when you see people who have
why would
sparkling...
it look weird?
Well, because the rest of you looks dishevelled and broken and useless.
No, it doesn't. That's only in your eyes.
So if you had a great pair of teeth, people just go, they're not real.
Yeah, heal thyself, surgeon. Heal thyself.
Yeah, physician. This is
Physician.
Talk Sport. He is Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. Loads more coming next.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle with you. And I'm wondering what it is I should do. It's so hard to keep the smile from my face.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. Mike Parry is here with me, of course. We are the two Mikes. He's currently rifling through the vast array of information that we've got here at the Transfer Circus to work out precisely what are the main movers and shakers of the night. David Spencer's here as well to help us. And obviously we're talking an awful lot about Alexis Sanchez going to Arsenal. But what can you tell us about Sami Khedira and some of the other rumours, David?
Well, there's quite a lot of interesting rumours around today. Arsenal have been given a boost in their attempt to sign Sami Khedira, the 27-year-old. The midfielder has rejected an offer of a 2-year contract at Real Madrid. That would be extraordinary. Arsenal would have a pretty cracking summer if they carry on with all the connections that are going on at the moment. And considering that the poor summers that they had of signings and people leaving over the recent years, I think Arsenal fans will have to be pinching themselves to actually believe it's happening. I love one of the, hearing Arsenal fans talking about this, one of the sort of conspiracy aspects to the whole transfer of Alexis Sanchez is one of the things that's delighted them is that they've scuppered another rivals, or what they've meant is that a transfer by Arsenal has meant that a rival's lost another player. Last year, they bringing in Mesut Ozil meant that Gareth Bale's deal, that was all sort of linked.
Madrid,
Spurs lost their top player. Liverpool losing Suarez is connected to obviously them bringing in Alexis Sanchez. That seems to be giving some Arsenal fans some great pleasure. I would just have pleasure in having, obviously, a pretty classy player brought into the squad. I don't know how he's going to settle into the Premier League, but judging by his World Cup performances, I think he'll do pretty well. What do you think, Mike?
What I think?
I was waiting for you to interject there.
Why are you waiting me
I
to
mean,
interject?
a man who is never short of a word. You've got nothing to say about this.
This man's an expert, and I take every word
All
he
right.
says
Well,
as
let me
fact.
ask you a question you can answer then. Why haven't Everton signed anybody?
Well, Everton have signed somebody, or about to.
Have they?
Everton are about to sign a
They
guy
are about,
called...
finally.
What was his name? Mohamed Besic.
Where's he from?
Well, he played for Croatia, didn't he, in the World Cup?
Okay.
And
Besic then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Besic. As I understand it, he's German-born, but he plays for Ferencváros. The reason he came to our attention...
Hungarian team.
Well, yeah, exactly, was because of the death of Di Stefano.
Stefano.
who was best mate of Ferenc Pukas, right?
Ferenc.
Yeah, and
Puskás.
and to me, that's always sounded like the name of Ferenc Varos, the club.
It sounds
and
like it, yeah.
and I wondered once whether they'd named the club after him,
Yeah.
but they hadn't.
They hadn't,
No,
no.
they're two different people.
The reason I know Hungarian so well is because I worked in a Hungarian bakery.
Oh,
during my
right, you
formative
keep
years.
telling me that, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so, well, thanks
So we
for that
think that- no.
information about So Everton have really pushed the boat out then,
Well,
as ever.
It's a little. It is a little section in that paper. That's no disrespect to Everton, is it? That it's just a sort of smaller section than perhaps
No,
some of the other
no,
ones.
not at all.
Are they going to sign anybody?
I've no idea. I don't rely on newspapers for my knowledge on what's happening at Everton. I have,
Well, are they going to sign
as
anybody?
usual,
You have sources.
What about
Well,
Lukaku?
Well, I don't know about Lukaku. He can't make his mind up what he wants to do,
No.
can he?
And I think that's one of the reasons that Jose Mourinho doesn't like him too much, because I think he's always going to Chelsea and on the one hand saying, I want to play for Chelsea, and then the next week he goes in and says, I don't want to play for Chelsea, and I don't think he knows which end is up.
Yeah,
that's
but I
why
mean, you
Mourinho
can't blame
keeps
somebody for
kicking him out.
wanting first-team football, can you? Rather than sitting on the bench for 30 games a season.
No, but by the same token, if he wants to play, up front for Chelsea, he needs to prove himself at another place, and he hasn't really done that.
Everton.
I heard some speculation about Drogba coming back to Chelsea.
I heard that speculation on.
Isn't it to
Talk
come
Sport.
back as a sort of coach though, rather than a player?
No, it's to
No, come back as a player,
Really?
which would be extraordinary, and that would be a bit of a sad indictment on their striking capability
Well,
or what
I
they
mean,
can bring in,
yeah,
or even
Sam-
their
yeah,
finances,
yeah.
perhaps.
Well, they had Samuel Eto'o last year, didn't they? Who was good in parts, but I mean, and Drogba was okay for Galatasaray. He's kind of over the hill now, isn't he?
I would say his time was done in the Premier League for sure. I tell you, one of the transfer rumours that interests me today, connected with Chelsea, is Ryan Bertrand, the left back, or Bertrand as some people wanted to call him. It's Ryan Bertrand.
Yeah.
And he's a player that had a spell on loan at my team, Reading, for a while, a number of years ago. He's only 24, but I tell you the price that he is talked about. He's linked with Liverpool and Spurs, £8 million.
Really? That's a lot of money, isn't it?
It's a lot of money for a player who hasn't really had he's been at Aston Villa as well, out on
He
loan.
was kind of Ashley Cole's understudy for a while, wasn't he?
And he's rated quite highly, but he hasn't had a long spell in the Premier League. And this whole thing about English players being more expensive, and we're saying there aren't enough English players across the whole Premier League. Well, I think they're being priced out of first teams. £8 million for Ryan Bertrand, for a player who hasn't got a track record. When you think about how much Alexis Sanchez was brought into Arsenal for.
Unbelievable.
Ryan Bertrand is not a quarter of the player of Alexis Sanchez. He's about a tenth of the value that you would bring in. So I think some of those values are ridiculous. And I don't actually know why English players are more expensive. That can't be explained to me. Why?
Well, isn't it because you have to have a certain content of English players in European competition in future?
No, because this all happened before that came
Yeah,
in. I mean,
they've always been
what
highly
some,
priced.
what some say is the reason is because the club in question, which isn't always true, have spent a lot of money developing the player, and so therefore they feel that they should get some return on their investment.
Yeah, but they keep going to tribunals where they don't get the full value of the investment they put into the player to make him the young kid that he is before another team comes along and
But they
snatches
also
him.
invest in other nationalities, like Arsenal do. Lots of teams bring through youngsters from other countries. That's not the same if you're a young French player. The value doesn't seem to be that inflated, particularly for homegrown English
But I
players.
think
The value.
isn't it to do with general economies? If you've got a player from Croatia or Yugoslavia or something like that, they're bound to cost less because the economy in those countries is not as well developed as the economy in this country.
But I think an English
and
player...
if you're buying internally, an English player internally, you are subject to market forces which are dictated by the amount of money Sky Television give to clubs. And like, for instance, even a team like Everton now gets about 86 million a year from Sky.
Well,
and so every club knows you've got that in your pot. We're having some of that for our player.
But I think the German equivalent of Ryan Bertrand would be 2 million, and German
but then effectively-
German economy is greater than ours. So
Yeah, it's true, but not in football. The way that they raise money in German football, like Bayern Munich, could easily be described as the richest club in the world, is because their commercial deals individually to the club are enormous. Their commercial deals with motoring companies, with drug companies, with manufacturing companies are enormous. Nobody quite knows how much that they accrue from them, but they're staggering, their deals. Where Manchester United say they've got a shirt deal with 300 million or something like that, you can multiply that by 5 for what Bayern Munich get from German companies, because German companies are so profitable. They're prepared to pay it to get their name on the Bayern Munich shirt.
Don't you think the answer to your original question, which he has veered so far away from, most people have probably forgotten what it was, is that actually it's the clubs who basically decide to set the fee, and they are greedy. And in the end, sometimes they have to pay off another club that they may have brought the player through from. But in the end, it's the English clubs that are making the English players' prices rise.
And I think that's one of the aspects to the whole English football, and because of the World Cup and other poor performance, one of the things that isn't entered into the debate is that aspect, that they seem to be pricing these moves out. It's not good for Ryan Bertrand to be put at £8 million, which stops him going. You know, if he signed for Aston Villa and got a good whole first-team season in at Aston Villa rather than being on loan, signed for them for £3 million, he's a £3 million sort of player, then that would be benefit English football, because then we'd have another left-back.
But successive weak chairmen at all English clubs simply cave in to the demands for money, which come, A, from the agents for their players. I mean, players in this country have paid ridiculous amounts of money when you weigh up their talents. Because look at the way the England team performed in the World Cup, and yet we've got some of the highest paid players in Europe, right? And
in the world.
In the world, absolutely.
Highest paid manager in the world.
Yeah, highest paid manager, well, next to Capello, who used to work for England, and therefore set his marker for what I'm going to be paid to go to Russia by what he got in England, which was $5 million, now gets $6 million in Russia. And we just give away money in football, both to agents for players, but also to other clubs for players. We just lost the plot because Sky have made football in this country so fabulously wealthy and lucrative.
Now, talking about Aston Villa, there's a story here in one of the papers about Paul Lambert, as you would pronounce his name.
Yes.
Apparently planning to let 8 of his current players leave. I presume that's as well as Ryan Bertrand, in order to actually fund new signings. Is this
And to fund Roy Keane's salary.
I was going to say, is this more likely to be Roy Keane turning off the training ground and 8 players actually wanting to leave?
It sounds a bit like a Paolo Di Canio clear out at Sunderland, though, doesn't it?
Do you think he's had Roy Keane come in and run the line over all these guys, and he said, right, we're kicking all these guys out?
Seeing some of Aston Villa's performances last season, I have to say that doesn't surprise me.
I have to say, when Ron Vlaar missed the first penalty for Holland, and Messi scored the first one, I did say Aston Villa 0, Messi 1. You like that?
I like that.
But I have to say, on that...
Why are you wearing your headphones halfway up your head, by the way?
Well, it's because the lights are a bit dodgy in this. Listen, I was going to ask you about Boney. What about Boney? Because we're supposed to be talking about transfers in this section.
By the way, on that subject, I've
economic.
got a text here from somebody who says, Besic played for Bosnia, you muppet.
Eh?
Besic, rather.
Yeah. What did I say?
Played for, you said Croatia.
Oh, it's close.
Yeah, it's all part
It's
of that.
the former Yugoslavia.
It's all part
If you
of
call
that.
it the former Yugoslavia, you'll be all right.
No, it's the Balkan Rump, I call it.
Actually, I've got a message from Derek in Pencoed. Mike, is it true that Porky has a PhD in nonsense? Because that's all he talks.
Yeah, well, that's a bit harsh. I'm not going to respond to that.
I do believe that
nonsense like that.
I think that is an official course on the curriculum, though, at universities these
It
days.
is at the
I think it's
University
one
of
those,
Nottingham Trent.
Yeah, it
anyway.
probably is, yeah.
Yeah, the boy played for Bosnia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
what I
what
said.
No, you said Croatia.
No, I meant Bosnia.
Anyway, David, sorry, over to you.
I love the headline with Wilfred Boney. Boney Gem. I see what they've done there.
Boney M.
Yeah.
Do you remember Boney M?
Hooray, hooray, it's a holly, holly day. That's that one, isn't it?
That is, yeah. And Ra Ra Rasputin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other one.
Rasputin.
Maybe after a bit of Boney M later.
Yeah. Russian Queen.
And back to your Ma Baker and your Hungarian
The
job.
rivers of Babylon, where we went down.
So you know all their songs, in other words. You've got their
I do,
greatest
yeah.
hits, obviously.
No, I
haven't
thought they
you?
were great.
Yeah.
They were great. Yeah,
One of
He's
the
got
biggest.
no taste in music at all. You know.
Well, I don't know, Boney M. Don't know. One of the
Yeah,
biggest
you've got no
selling.
taste in music either.
No, I haven't. Rasputin, that's a classic. Wilfred Boney, where's he going to be heading? I think.
Babylon, by the sound of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's
I
linked
wonder
with.
what happened to them, by the way, because they made
They
about
were
5
German, you know.
records.
They were German, Boney M.
Rubbish.
They were.
They were
What do you mean
German.
rubbish? They were
Were they?
German.
Yeah,
Were they?
they were German.
Made
yeah.
about
They were
5
part of
records
that
and
whole Donna
disappeared.
Summer kind of German disco period.
And they still do the touring.
Don't do that one, for God's sake. I really don't want to see you heavy breathing
I
on
used to
the,
go
on
on
the
the pool
radio.
when that was being played in discos.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
bet.
it was magnetic.
Did you
know
do
what I mean?
well while you?
Well, I don't know the rest of them.
Better than he does now, let's put it that way.
But so old, but I'm going to ignore that. Old Boney, is he that good for us to be talking about
Are
him?
you talking
when
about Boney or Boney M now?
I'm talking about Boney Gem. Yeah, I'm talking about Liverpool who targeted Wilfred Boney as Brendan Rodgers continued his summer revamp. I mean, is he that good? Is
20 million. And
It's a
again,
lot
if
of
you
money
go
to
back
pay
to
for
the
a player, isn't it?
it is Alexis Sanchez comparison.
he? Laughing at?
Because you haven't even noticed that we're playing Boney M. Because your headphones are on your head.
right, okay. Got it. All right, I've got it, yeah. Right, that's it. Good. I'm with it. I'm in the groove.
Now you can hear
I'm in
it.
the groove. Yeah.
Where's Bodie going?
I like this.
I'm just enjoying Daddy,
Daddy
Cool.
Cool.
I have to say, this is.
Don't you like the
good
start
moment.
of this one? You know, you treat me like a fool. What about Daddy Cool? Yeah.
Tell you what, you can add this to the old. What was that Friends website that you signed up for? You can put big fan of.
Findafriend.com.
Don't like garlic, big fan of Boney M.
Yeah.
I reckon that's going to
That'll-
increase the
yeah.
hits.
That'll reel them in, won't it?
It will do, yeah.
Yeah, plenty of women in their 70s.
I love the Rasputin one, though, because Rasputin was such a fascinating character, wasn't he? They couldn't kill him.
How about this one? Leicester City have made a club record bid of 7.5 million for Brighton's 27-year-old striker Leonardo Ulloa.
I was waiting for Mike to have a go at that one, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Ulloa?
Ulloa. A good player in the
But you come
championship.
from Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
That's a joke.
That's good. That's not bad.
No,
I don't know if you've got any
Yeah.
songs about Hawaii.
yeah.
This is the weirdest transfer circus we've ever had.
Yeah, is this how it normally goes?
No, this is the 3-ring version.
Okay.
So what about this guy Leonardo? That's quite a lot of money as well, isn't it?
That is an awful
I'll
lot
tell
of
you
money.
what, the Championship are starting to spend massive amounts of money as well, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's Leicester City obviously going up, looking at a player
your-
that's
are
been
your
in the
lot still in the
Championship.
Championship?
I'm afraid we're happily sat in the Championship. We like it there.
Oh, right,
The
okay.
Premier League is
So
obviously
you
a step
managed to
too high
survive.
for Reading.
Dave's a Reading
Last
fan.
time I went to Reading, I sat next to Cilla Black
Oh,
in the
bless.
director's box. Yeah.
And next to JM.
Well, he was on the other side, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And he's Sir JM anyway, isn't he?
He is Sir JM.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And Emerson got beaten, I think, 2-1 that day.
Were there any other showbiz types there?
Well, they do attract a few showbiz types there because, you know,
They're near Ascot.
It's an affluent area of
Sir
the world.
Majeski is a very generous host. And
How did it go that day?
yeah, went very well, thank you.
Yeah.
Went very
Did
well.
you stay till the end?
Result. Yeah, I did. And they've got a hotel, haven't they, next door to the ground? And I stayed there that night.
You
I
know
remember
what
now.
somebody told me the other day,
What?
actually? That in the closed season, I didn't know if this is possible at other clubs as well. West Ham United actually rent out their corporate suites as bedrooms.
No,
you could stay there.
That main
You could
stand.
stay there at Upton Park.
That main stand now is a hotel.
Yeah, but
And-
it's not, but the rooms are actually the just the corporate
Yeah,
dining
that's right.
rooms.
That's right.
So
The
they basically take the table out and put a bed in.
No, it's actually simpler than that. The box that I go into at West Ham, the bed is folded up into the wall. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it folds down again. The wardrobes
Well,
double up
just in
as
case the lunch goes exceedingly well.
whatever.
Or
and,
it's a boring game.
And the
Yeah.
wardrobes double up as places to put your coat for the guests when they come in. There's an ensuite bathroom.
Right.
There's a drinks cabinet. There's a fridge. It is a bedroom, and the bed literally folds up into the wall, and you know they just pull a door across it, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's designed that way.
Yeah, but you can't rent it as a hotel for the night unless there's no game on, right?
Well, yeah, but there's sometimes no game on during the week, so you can stay there during the week. That's
Yeah.
no problem.
It's quite smart, really, isn't it?
Yeah, rather than build a hotel, I don't know why Reading actually built a hotel. We could have just done that and had a little fold-up bed in our corporate suites. It seems.
You could have done, but that hotel was quite full the night I used it. I think
It
it's
was
quite
doing
popular,
well.
isn't it? It does lots of sort of
Can
dinners.
you not read the clock?
Yeah, I can read the clock, yeah.
Thanks. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham and he's Mike Parry. You're listening to Extra Time, the two mics keeping you entertained throughout the night. The World Cup final is just 2 days away and it's Germany against Argentina, of course, and it's live right here on Talk Sport. There's some big transfer news as well. Alexis Sanchez has signed for Arsenal from Barcelona for £35 million. Could he be the final piece of the jigsaw? 08717 223344. Coming up in this hour, we're going to give Mike Porky Parry a quiz to see whether he can actually answer a straight question. There will be straight yes or no answers, strict rules, and we'll see how he gets on. Normally he scores about 4 or 5 out of 10. Also, we'll be talking about prejudice against regional accents. Mr. Parry, of course, a great supporter of regional accents, and he's going to be doing a few for us coming up in this hour. Much, much more to come. 08717 223344. You're listening to Extra Time with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. Quite a bit of action on the old social media and on text as well from people who are a bit upset about your kind of lionisation of Germany. And most of it refers to what happened during the war. Some people who have lived through that and are saying, and by no means we're saying minimising that at all. I have to say that that some people just want us to remember that. But that's all in the past.
Well,
and I think one of
hang
the
on,
problems
sorry,
about
what
that-
am I supposed to not be remembering?
Well, it's not that you're not remembering anything. It's just that some people are taking exception to the fact that you're lionising Germany and saying what a great power it is and how it managed to come
Well,
out of
it
the war
is.
so successfully. I think you're right. Listen, I'm not disagreeing
Yeah.
with you. I'm just saying that a couple of people have said, my dad was digging people out of the rubble in the Blitz and la 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 la, and that kind of thing. And I can understand how they feel about it. But I mean, we have moved on quite considerably from those
My
times.
father fought in the Second World War. He joined the Royal Navy when he was 17 in 1940.
Yeah.
He fought until 1946. He was only 23 when he came out.
Yeah.
Got torpedoed in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
So I am actually quite aware of the fact that, the Germans have instilled a lot of damage on this country, a lot of grief and an awful lot of harm and hurt. And I am more aware of that than anybody. And
I think there are many more people in Germany who are
Yeah.
much more ashamed of that period of their history than perhaps there are people here who resent it.
They've got to be. But what I'm saying is now, you cannot blame today's generation of Germans for what their predecessors did.
No, I think that's true.
I just don't think you can, and all I'm saying is that if you read any military manuals, and one of the guys who writes a lot of these books is Max Hastings,
Yeah.
Sir Max Hastings. You and I have worked in the same marina as Sir Max. He was editor of the Evening Standard in London. He was editor of the Daily Telegraph. He's written there, and
He was a
consistently,
Falklands War
he
correspondent
was
for
a
the
Falklands
Standard,
War
wasn't he?
correspondent for the Standard, the man who, many say was the first man into Port Stanley,
Yeah.
waving a white flag when it was liberated. And in his latest tome, when I've read the serialisation of it, he quotes an awful lot of military commanders from the end of the First and Second World War who say the German soldier, the German pilot, the German naval submarine commander were very honourable men, soldiers, driven by, nutcase politicians, madmen politicians. And that's a story of the history of the world, isn't it?
It is.
About soldiers and officers. And, I mean, Rommel was a very decent man who actually took his own life in the end. I'm not getting into a Second World War, history lesson now. But Rommel went home to Germany to rest. He'd had a nervous breakdown, various campaigns he'd been in, then put under pressure by Berlin. And then he was associated with a plot to get rid of Hitler, which
failed.
Well, he wasn't involved in it anyway. The only thing was he knew about it, and he was accused of not telling the authorities. He knew about it because he had been approached to join it, and he said, definitely not, I'm not joining any plot against the Führer. And when that was found out, they went to his home, and they simply said, you can come for a drive in the car, we'll give you a pistol, otherwise your family are all off to Buchenwald or whatever. So he did the honourable thing.
Absolutely
And that's all I'm saying. So I'm not, under any circumstances whatsoever, trying to be an apologist for what happened during the Second World War. I'm the most bitterly opposed person to what Germany did to this country, because Germany destroyed this country. It doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter who won the Second World War, financially and economically, we were destroyed by the German declaration of war in Europe, and we were still paying for it until 2006. So, I'll tell you exactly where I stand with Germany.
No, I don't think there's any doubt about
I
that.
admire the qualities of the modern German in getting their country right.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Going back to your knowledge of military history, Alan in London has texted in on 1089. He says Ray Winston's anchor tattoo. His naval connection was that he once served as First Lord of the Admiralty prior to becoming wartime Prime Minister. What was that about Mike Parry's naval history knowledge?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's why he got an anchor tattoo
No,
on
it
his,
was.
on
It
his arm.
was. I said that. I said he was Minister of War, which is the same thing.
First Lord of the Admiralty.
Yeah, well, First Lord of the Admiralty, right, of the biggest navy that had ever been assembled, meant you were Minister of War at the same time.
From
which he was.
1911 to 1914.
That's
it says
absolutely
here.
right, yeah.
And here's one from Paul the Trucker, who starts it off with a slight... I don't think he means to be insulting to you, so I'm not going to read that bit out.
No, read it out, please. Read
All
it
right,
out. I want to
okay.
hear it.
Mike, why would anyone who looks like a homeless dipso tramp pay £100,000 for a nice new set of teeth? A bit like putting a £20,000 sound system in a written-off Ford Fiesta. But then he says, love you guys,
question?
you make my night go
Is that
quicker.
a serious question, is it? Yeah.
Well, I think he was kind of making the point that I was making. Why would you bother putting a gleaming set of, £100,000 teeth in when the rest of your face actually wouldn't match it?
Well, I'll tell you why, Mike. Teeth have two purposes. One is to look white and gleaming in the front of your face, those are the teeth at your front of your mouth. The other one is to allow you to eat.
Yes.
And as long as you can eat properly, you can keep yourself in good shape.
Yeah.
Now, you're just going to go through the rest of your life letting your teeth crumble in your fat mouth. I'm not trying to be insulting, but you have got a
Yeah,
fat
I think
mouth.
you have insulted me.
Well, yeah, right. And then all you'll be doing is literally stuffing
eat a lot of
kebabs
soup.
down your throat. No, you eat a lot of kebabs as well, don't you?
I don't eat a lot of kebabs.
Yes, you do. You tell me that you go up in the kebab shop round the corner most nights
No,
and have a
not
chat
most
with a load
nights,
of
no.
policemen who are also
Occasionally.
there buying kebabs, and they should be out
Occasionally.
maintaining the peace in this metropolitan city of
I
ours.
occasionally have a kebab, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you occasionally have a kebab. I know you have kebabs all over the place and I go, so you just want to spend the rest of your life, half munching kebabs with a mouthful of gums rather than teeth, that's up to you. I prefer to look after my own personal health.
Well, I'd love it
Okay.
if you got some white gleaming teeth. It would look hilarious because, I mean, when you see people get, because more and more
You
people...
would just be envious.
I wouldn't be envious,
you would.
but I mean, there have been people not that far away from this particular studio who've had it done, and when they walk in the first time, it looks ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's a cheap way of doing it. All they do is they go to this
They
sort
get
of...
veneers.
No, not even veneers, Mike. They go to some gash sort of dental, like, practice in somewhere like King's Cross or something, right? Which, for the benefit of our listeners who don't have to come to London every day to work, and lucky you...
It's the terminus for the Eurostar now, isn't it?
Yeah, in terms of the Eurostar, and it's also a very seedy area, you know, full of sort of...
You know, not so much anymore. They've done it up a bit
Well,
now.
it used to be working girls and all that. In fact, I think who was the very senior legal officer who was found curb crawling round there?
Yeah, it was the guy who was the DPP, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
the
Director of Public
prosecutions. Yeah, but no, that's another story. And so this is the seedy story there is they go, and these guys just get some kind of a laser beam or something, rub it up and down your teeth a couple of times, and then you come out, and for about the next 10 days, your teeth are gleaming white, and then they go like ochre yellow,
Yeah.
and then brown.
Well, because they use bleach as well.
Yeah,
which
use
is very
bleach
dangerous.
and kills all the nerves off in your teeth and all that kind of stuff. So that's not a good idea. But the implants is literally... You are having a piece of very solid material. I don't know what it's made of. Could be made of plastic for all I know, because that's very
Yeah, but
resilient
it's sort of screwed
plastic.
into your jaw. It sounds
It's
very
in-
painful.
Yeah, no, it's screwed into your gum, not your jaw. Screwed into your gum.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right.
But you've got to have a lot of gum there to screw it into, and some of my gum's disappearing apparently. So I've got to get
Well,
it
that
done
happens
soon.
with age, doesn't it?
Got to do it
Jason
soon.
from Newcastle Under Lyme has got something interesting to say about dentists. He says
yeah.
dentists now often call themselves doctor as they feel the course is the same length and they therefore have the right to be called doctor. However, it is pretentious and really doctor is a job title like mechanic and should not be used by dentists unless they have a PhD. See, I agree with him. That's what I was saying earlier. A lot of dentists are quite pretentious and they failed to become medical doctors and they like to call themselves doctors to make themselves feel more important.
No, when you start off and you go on your course at university, you're not going to be a doctor and then suddenly decide, I'm too thick to be a doctor, I'm going to be a dentist.
Yeah, but that's how it used to work. That's how it used to be.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. You start on a dental course, and a lot of my mates went to Liverpool University to do dentistry, yeah. And it's a very long course. I think it's about 5 years or
Yeah,
something
well,
like
a
that.
medical course is 7 years, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but done
That's
2 or
what I
3
mean.
years of that includes working in a hospital as a junior houseman, is it? Yeah, I think it's a houseman. Used to be a Peter Houseman, played for Chelsea years
There
ago.
was, I remember it.
And that's the way they do it. But no, being a dentist.
Yeah, but there was a time, and
it's
it
a
may
highly
be, it may
skilled
not be,
profession,
Well,
much
of
more
course it
skilled
is.
than being a doctor.
Well, it's not much more skilled. It's
Much
just a
more
different
skilled
skill.
than being a GP, because a GP, you see, this is what I get about doctors. A GP is, what's that expression?
Master of all trades.
No, master of none.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, master of none. So a GP can tell you how to get rid of a cough, or it can tell you how to
Get rid of a rash.
or how to repair, your dodgy foot, or why you've got earache, or something like that.
Well, because when you study medicine, right,
Yeah.
you specialise after a certain point in time, and
But
some
you don't
people
if you're a
decide-
GP.
Well, sometimes they
They don't specialise in anything.
But many of them will have spent time as a registrar or whatever it is in a hospital.
I'm not sure about that.
Or
Whereas
a houseman, as you
a
said.
dentist is highly qualified. A dentist knows all about nerves. It knows all about, extraction of teeth from bone. It knows how to balance up your mouth so that, for instance, if you had a lopsided mouth, you could starve. I mean, you literally could.
Could you?
Yeah, you could, yeah.
You've given us a lot of thought, haven't you?
Well, I have, yeah.
You're spending too much time in the dentist's chair.
No, well,
Well,
you-
has he been giving you that laughing gas?
laughing gas. Might have been a laughing gas. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, we'll need a bit of laughing gas.
Now, we're going to be
occasionally.
giving you a quiz coming
Big
up very
laughing gas
shortly.
working
But
with you.
actually, coming up on a scientific front, I've got some good news for you. Because,
Oh, yes?
you might remember a few weeks ago you were promoting the idea that the best way to keep cool in the hot weather was to wear a special kind of cooling vest.
That's right.
Which you claimed would be powered by a battery, and it would work a little bit like some kind of a flask.
Indeed.
That would either keep you cold or warm. We're going to talk to a guy who has invented something that was used by the German team, funnily enough, at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Where they kept their hands cold at
Yeah.
half time.
Yeah.
And
I
you're,
know about this.
you're going to
I know
tell
about
me
this.
you're going to tell me that this is similar to your idea, aren't you?
Well, it's very similar to my idea.
Well-
The whole idea is of these gloves. I mean, for
You're doing
years,
it again, aren't you?
what?
You're doing it again. You're not looking at the time.
for years, I've been mocking players who put on woolly gloves to play football in this country.
Yeah.
But now, having read the scientific reports, you have to cool yourself from within, not from without. So it's no good standing in an air-conditioned room at half-time when you're trying to cool down or warm up. You need internal coldness. And that comes from these gloves we're going to talk about.
I think you've got a bit of that internal coldness. We're going to talk to Chuck Hickson, the president of Avacor, coming up next on TalkSport.
He wakes to find the fire's dead and arrows in his hat. And Davy Crockett rides around and says it's cool for cats, it's cool for cats. The Sweeney's doing
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He, of course, is Mike Parry. We're talking once again about science and its appliance to football, really, because that's what we do here on the Two Mikes. We take scientific kind of theory and we turn it into scientific fact. And we're going to talk now to a man who's been responsible for doing that. Chuck Hickson is the president of a company called Avacor, who was responsible for making these very, very cold gloves, which the German players put their hands into at half-time. And, Chuck, before we say good morning to you, just to give you a little bit of background, Mike Parry is claiming that he had this idea first because what he decided was, in order for people to keep cool, what they should get is a sort of a cooling vest that they could wear, which would work in very much the same way. Very good morning to you, Chuck.
Hello, good morning to you.
Yeah, hi, Chuck.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah, we can. Now, we understand that this cooling glove, which was designed by Stanford University scientists, which pumps basically ice water around the hand. It's quite a simple idea, really. How long had you been working on it?
Well, actually, it's not ice water. Ice water would actually make the physiological process shut down and would actually make your core temperature hotter. It's actually about 16 degrees centigrade water, and it's under a vacuum, and that combination of the two lowers your core body temperature 500% faster than normal. So this technology has been around for about 10 years, developed by the U.S. military, used in Desert Storm in Afghanistan, and now we've adopted it for sport.
Oh, I see. And apparently it was offered to the England team, the English FA, before it was offered to the Germans, but they didn't think there was enough time to test it before making use of it.
Right. Dave Rudden was very involved in talking about it with Trevor Stephen, who's our agent, and it just came up very at the last moment, which is probably a shame. But I know that he's quite keen to get involved in it post-World Cup. So Germany was sort of ahead of the curve. They trialed it last July and are well-versed in the use and have incorporated it completely into their program.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all, Chuck, because part of the discussion we've been having on the programme tonight is Germany's progress in the World Cup and the fact that everything they do is a mark of the efficiency of the way the country is run. But what is, I think, most surprising in that England turned it down is that we have troops out in the desert and have had it in Afghanistan, in Iraq and Iraq, and Afghanistan, where temperatures get up to 40 degrees, and these things were tested out there to keep soldiers cool. Now, we should have been much more aware of a facility to cool soldiers down in intense heat, which could be applied to football, than the Germans, who didn't have soldiers there. So I'm astonished, really, that we didn't take up this option.
Well, I think it's just more a chance circumstance, actually. It just so happened that we had a very good person that was in Germany that happened to approach them at the right moment. Dave Rudden did contact us, but it was right before they left for the World Cup, and, too little too late, actually.
Yeah, you're right.
No, we sometimes make fun of Mr. Parry here to my right, Chuck, because he comes up with some quite outlandish sort of scientific theories. But actually, on this particular one, even though he's claiming that he had the idea first, which I don't believe, you could, I suppose, use this glove technology and make a kind of a vest out of it, couldn't you, to keep people cool in ordinary circumstances?
Yeah.
No, actually, a vest is very different. What the Stanford scientists, my co-founders, discovered is that all mammals dissipate heat selectively when they start to become overheated through these radiator structures. And in humans, it happens to be the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet, and your forehead. The palm actually being the easiest to access, so that's what we designed our device around. So when you become overheated, you pump heat to these surfaces even before you start to sweat. And what we do with a mild vacuum and the exact right 16 degrees centigrade temperature is we turbocharge that effect, and that's what's patented, and that's what makes it so effective. If you look at an ice vest out of the conventional cooling, you have to look at your body, your core body, basically from your brain down to your belly button as a thermos bottle. And you can't cool down a hot liquid inside a thermos bottle by putting a cool load on the outside. We cool the body from the inside out. That cool blood in the palm of your hand is going directly back to your heart. And in fact, the Germans perfected it. They discovered that if you put it on your left hand, it actually gets back to your heart a little quicker because your left side is closer to your heart. You really, really dug into it and figured it out.
Yeah, that's great. Now, Chuck, I've had a look at this since we decided it was time to approach you, and I come across another application. You just mentioned the forehead and cooling down the forehead, okay? Now, apparently there is a very serious scientific application where cancer patients now can take advantage of a cap that freezes their head to minus 4 degrees centigrade in order that they don't lose their hair when they're undergoing chemotherapy to try and rid themselves of cancer. Does that make sense to you?
It makes perfect sense, but it's a very different physiological process. Our process relies and augments a natural physiological process that when the body's overheated, it selectively dumps heat to these radiator structures. And this is controlled by the hypothalamus. And when you reach normal temperature, the entire process shuts down. So it's impossible for our device to make you colder than normal. The device that you're referring to actually induces a therapeutic hypothermia that stops cell damage. So they're both involved in cooling, but the quite different physiological principles involved.
Now obviously, Chuck, being as you're now immersed in football, as so many Americans have been over the course of the last few weeks in the World Cup, and in your case before that, you'll know that the 2022 World Cup is scheduled to take place in Qatar in temperatures in excess of sort of 125, 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Presumably your technology is going to be wanted by everybody for that World Cup, isn't it?
Well, we're working very hard on it with our people there, and Trevor Stevens much involved in that, as are some other folks that are distributors there. And we're hoping, actually, we're trying to convince the people there to incorporate it in, for the audience as well. So I think it will be very key for that area. I think it's a necessity. Otherwise, I think there's going to be a lot of miserable people.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
How did you tie up with Trevor Steven, Chuck? Because I'm an Everton fan. Trevor Steven was an absolute star of the best Everton team we've ever had in the mid-'80s, then went on to play for Rangers in Scotland, and then became a bit of a media pundit. So he's done extremely well to have moved into what I'd call football science.
Well, yeah, he really has, and he's quite an advocate for this technology. Actually, I was introduced to Trevor Stevens through a business development company that approached me and had contact with Trevor.
Yeah, well, Mike will know him well because...
Right now,
yeah, sorry, go on.
We're a small company, and we're expanding internationally, and Trevor's a key part of that.
Yeah, well, I think you would be. Mike, you'd know Trevor well, because you worked up in Scotland as an editor, and, of course, Trev was a prominent Rangers player.
Yes, I do absolutely remember as well.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck, listen, it's a fascinating technology you've got there.
Absolutely.
And I'm delighted that you're able to join us, and perhaps we'll talk to you again.
And can I give my website?
Please do, yeah.
It's www, and then it's Avocor, and that's A, V as in victory, ACORE.com. Feel free to check out the technology, and if you're interested, send me an email.
Okay, and Chuck, just before you go, just one thing I want to pick you up on. You said that the key areas of the body are the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. So will the day ever come?
Forehead.
Yeah, and the forehead. Well, we've done the forehead bit, but will the day ever come when we have the frozen boot, so that a footballer's foot can be permanently, frozen during a game in which the temperature is excessive to have the same effect as your gloves?
Right. That's very interesting, actually. It's totally technically possible to incorporate the technology into some sort of footwear. The issue is just with the portability of the cooling part of it. So it's not technically impossible, but right now the state of the art is that you would have to carry around something that weighs basically 5 pounds, which would be very
Another great
restrictive.
idea from Porky.
Yeah.
Chuck, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah,
what
thanks.
a ludicrous question.
No, it's not ludicrous
It's
at
a
all.
ridiculous question. So yeah, so you can have cold feet.
Yeah.
But you've got to carry around a sort of jetpack on your back to
No.
keep them cool.
No,
Brilliant.
he didn't mean that at
Genius.
all. What he probably meant is that the boot would probably have to be about the size of a builder's boot. You know what
Well,
I
that
mean?
wouldn't be
And
any use either.
So
You know,
it would
people
be
hobbling about all over the
it'd
pitch.
be a
And also,
bit-
may I say that despite your kind of crowing at the
Yeah.
beginning of that interview about how
Yeah.
you came up with this great idea,
Exactly.
it wouldn't work as a vest. The guy just told you.
Well,
it
he-
will not work as a vest.
He doesn't
vest.
know as much about vests as he knows about gloves, so you can take that with a pinch of
No,
salt.
I think Chuck there is the expert
But
here.
don't
not
don't you dare dismiss my idea about the frozen boot, because it's all very well to say, well, at the moment you can't have a frozen boot because it'd have to be a big size to incorporate the frozen liquid in the boot. I accept.
That's not what he said.
I accept at
It's
the
not
moment.
what he said.
I accept at the moment that would make the boot heavier. Of
Yeah.
course it would, and therefore
He's talking about the apparatus to
counterproductive.
cool the liquid.
No, but I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, but you know, you don't have any foresight, you can't see it. In years to come, it'll be possible to have a boot as light as the boots we have now, with an element inside the sole which freezes the sole of your foot. And that means players could play in temperatures like in Qatar
Rubbish.
and have total inner peace with their own body in terms of temperature. Okay?
Yeah,
Right.
but you'd be able to spot the ones that were wearing them because they'd have a great big jetpack on their back.
No, they wouldn't, you
Absolute
idiot, you
rubbish.
see. You don't understand. You don't understand at all. What you'll have is you'll have technology which will allow you to put the sole of the boot into...
I'd have a bit more faith in
Hang
your
on, hang
scientific
on.
theories if you could tell the time.
You,
You've seen the time.
You'd put the sole of the boot, right, like an insole, you know, you put insole
Yeah.
into shoes. You'd have one of
You
those.
put them in to make yourself
You-
taller,
you-
presumably.
You'd put it into a freezer. You'd have it frozen down to -20. You take it out. You put it in your boot. It weighs nothing. It's absolutely light, and it keeps you cool for the next 45 minutes. It would be called the frozen foot technology, and
The frozen foot technology.
and
that's
it's bound
catchy.
to come. And it's bound to come.
Of
And
course.
for you to dismiss it just shows your own total ignorance.
Well, the news
Fithead.
is even more bound to come. I always know when I'm winning the argument, you start to resort to calling me names. I'm Mike Graham, and Mike Parry is here, and it is that time of the week when we're going to give you the quiz of the week. Now, normally what we do is we choose a subject which you've claimed to be an expert in, and then we give you 10 questions on it and see how you get on. Normally
Well,
not
on the
very well.
American Civil War, did
No,
I
you
not?
yeah, because we cheated on that one.
No, I
But,
didn't. How dare you say that? So if I get a good result and I do well, you accuse me of cheating. Where's your evidence for that
Well, my
accusation?
evidence is that you've never ever known as much about a subject as you knew about that.
See?
And you were reeling off the list of presidential names
What a
as if they were in front of
pathetic-
you on a list.
Oh,
Anyway.
excuse me, they were in front of me in my head, you
Really?
know. I have loads of knowledge.
Right, well, I bet if I asked the same questions now without your crib sheet, you wouldn't be able to answer.
What crib sheet? Did you find a crib sheet on
I
this
didn't
desk?
find one, no.
you didn't.
them. I think you had
Because there
some-
wasn't one.
Maybe you were wearing some Google glasses or something.
Yeah, I think you are, I think you're a louse.
Anyway, never mind what you think of me. The listeners will be able to make up their minds when they think of you, because one of the things that I've noticed, and lots of people have noticed about you, is that you never give a straight answer to
Rubbish.
any question, right? So what we're going to do is we've got 10 questions here.
Okay.
Most of them can be given a yes or no answer, okay? Now, you get a point if you can give a yes or no answer, right? But if you can't give a yes or no answer, you will get no points.
I see.
Okay? And if you need
And
to
these
elaborate,
loaded questions,
and if you need to
yeah.
elaborate, then obviously you will get -1. All right?
Okay.
First question. Did you really study surveying at Nottingham Trent University?
Yes.
Is it true that you have never ever crashed a car?
Yes.
Question 3. Have you ever been in love?
Yes.
Question 4. Have you ever been asked to leave a restaurant or bar?
No.
Question 5. Have you ever told a lie?
Yes.
What, like the first four questions?
No.
Question 6. Have you really never eaten an egg?
No.
7.
No, I've never eaten an egg.
That's a -1.
No, it's not. It's not a minus one.
elaborated.
That question wasn't clear. Read the question again.
Have you really never eaten an egg? As clear as it can be.
So if I say yes, I've never eaten an egg.
Yeah.
Well, I said no because the question is so convoluted. I didn't know whether to say yes
It's
or no.
not convoluted.
I've
have you
never eaten
really
an egg.
never eaten an egg?
Yes.
Yes, you've never really eaten an egg.
Yes.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Fine. Next. Do you believe in aliens?
No.
Question 8. How many times have you been fired in your career?
That's not a yes or a no. That's not a yes or a no. It's a stupid question.
And your answer is?
It's not a yes or a no.
It's a straight question.
Ask the question again.
How many times have you been fired in your career?
But you said I
Give
can
me a
only
number.
answer yes or no.
Well, you can give me a number.
0.
No times. 9. Did Bill Clinton really ask you to be his special advisor?
No.
You said he did the other day.
No, I didn't. I've never said that in my life.
You did.
I said I formed a bond with him when he was the governor of Arkansas and decided to run for president of the United States of America when I was in Little Rock and happened to associate with him. But I didn't ever say he was going to special... well, there were things that I could have advised him on, which we talked about. So, yes, okay, yes.
That's elaboration. I'm afraid that's another -1. Number 10. Do you speak any foreign languages?
Yes.
Carry on. Tell us what languages you speak.
Well, you did not. That's
For a
not the
bonus
question.
point.
That's not the
Not
question.
for a bonus point.
All
You've
right.
given us a straight answer.
Okay. I could easily survive in France and Spain.
Okay. Well, would you like to tell me how many points you think you've got in French?
Wheat.
You think you've got 8 points?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's German, yeah.
So you think you haven't got 8 points at all? You've got
I
about
have.
7 points.
7.
Because you elaborated on 3.
Yeah,
You
well, I
meandered
think I did
around on
pretty
one.
well there.
I
You
think
tried to
we've-
catch me
I
out
think
on all
we've-
sorts
I
of
think
things.
we've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that
No,
you
no.
cannot answer a straight
No,
question
no,
without lying.
no.
All right, let me put this to you, right?
Yeah.
1. You
Mm.
said you studied surveying at Nottingham
Yes.
Trent University. There's no such course as surveying, right?
I've told you before it's called urban estate management, of which surveying is one discipline.
Well, why did you say that you had studied it then?
Because I did. There were 5 disciplines. Surveying, building, calculations...
No, now you're down to -6, okay?
No.
Is it true that you've never ever crashed a car? I don't believe you've never crashed a car.
I've never crashed a car.
We're going to have to find evidence.
You
of that.
rolled a car over in America.
Have you ever
on its
been?
roof.
I did. That's true.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in love? Yes.
Yes.
Who with?
Well, a long time
Apart
ago.
from yourself.
Long time ago. The audience aren't interested in that.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
interested in my love
They are
life.
very interested in that.
All right, it was from the ages of 16 to 21.
What? How many times were you in love, or was it just once?
Just once.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. And you say you've never been asked to leave a restaurant or a bar?
No, never.
I've been with you when you've been asked to leave a restaurant.
Oh, yeah, go on, name it then.
It was we were in a curry house in Covent Garden.
Rubbish.
I can't remember the name of it, but it
Utter
was some years
rubbish.
ago. And you were asked to stop swearing so much at first.
that is a lie. That's
It's
a
not.
fabrication.
It is not a
that
fabrication.
Never happened to me. Who was I swearing at?
You were swearing at me.
Well, I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
People asked.
That
People
doesn't-
asked if they could be moved away from the table,
That's not true.
and then after a while they asked if we would leave.
No, that's not. I don't believe that at all.
I think this has become a huge farce. This quiz.
no,
because
I think you.
not only can you not give a straight answer,
You must have been
but you're
res-
just making it all up.
You must have been responsible for that. Go on, then. Go on. I'll explain exactly why my answers are accurate. And that one is an absolute camelry.
What?
No, it's a calumny.
Calumny.
It's a calumny.
What's a camelry?
Well, it's
Is that a place where you keep camels?
No, it's a load of fiction.
Calumny.
Calumny.
Yeah, calumny is
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think you've now gone down to about -3 on this
Rubbish.
quiz, so we may as well draw it to a close. I think we're going to have to come up with some more straight questions to ask you again at another time.
Well, any time you
Because,
like.
I don't think
See, you
you've
won't
been
go through any of the others because you
Well,
know
I've
that
done
you
them all.
can't catch me out. No,
Well,
you
I've
haven't.
done them all.
What about the egg thing? You know, you
What about the egg thing?
deliberately screwed the
It's a very
question,
straightforward question.
so I couldn't possibly give the right answer.
And then the other week you said that you believed that aliens made crop circles, right? When I ask you, do you believe in aliens, you say no.
No, don't. I didn't say it was aliens. I
You
said,
told me that you've never been fired in your career.
That's right.
I know for a fact that you've been fired twice.
where was I fired?
Well, do you want me to elaborate?
Yeah, please do.
Well, you were fired from the Sun.
Rubbish.
Well, you weren't fired from the Sun.
I left.
You left?
Yeah.
Okay. You were fired from the Express.
Rubbish.
You
I
left there as well.
I left.
So you've never been fired from anywhere?
I've never been fired.
Right.
Never been fired.
Okay. That's Mike Porky Parry and his straight answers. God help anybody who ever wants to try and get anything out of him, of anything which is in any way regarding the truth. Anyway, we shall move on swiftly.
Yeah, let's move on swiftly. I'm a bit fed up of this, emasculation of my honesty gene.
Well, that's a lovely speech, but I will have to disagree with you.
Jean, was that her name?
Who's that?
The one you were in love with?
No.
What was her name?
It doesn't matter. It's a long time ago.
She's still alive?
Well, I would imagine so, yeah, although it's been a few years since we were in touch.
You don't remember her name, do you?
Of course I do. It's Trudy. I told you this before.
Trudy?
Yeah, I told you that before.
Okay.
And by the way, funny enough, we were talking earlier, but her mother was German because her father was a sergeant major in the army, and after the war, he met and married a woman called Trudy, and then named his daughter Trudy as well, and then they came back to this country. He was reposted to this country, and his mother was her mother was delightful German woman, blonde-haired German woman. You know, very, very Germanic. You know what I mean? And yeah, so there is a German connection. You're right.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that explains why you love Germans so much.
No, I don't love Germans. I respect them for having rebuilt their country after a war. Okay.
We'll have to get some German music for you coming out of the next break. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We're going to talk
what's
about...
that famous German song? You know, Lily Marlene. Lily
Don't sing that.
Marlene.
Don't sing it.
They used to play it in the trenches in the Russian advance, and it was the last thing some of those poor boys heard before they froze to death. Really.
That's enough sympathy for the Germans.
Yeah.
Coming up next, more from the two mics.
99 Luftballons, ihren Weg zum Horizont hielt man für UFOs aus dem All. Warum schickte ein General Fliegerstaffeln hinterher? Alarm zu geben, wenn's so wär, dabei waren dort am Horizont 99 Luftballons.
Why are we playing this?
99 Red Balloons. You know this song?
99 red balloons. I always confuse this with there are 9 million bicycles in Beijing.
Well, this one's sung in German, just to help you,
That's
so,
right,
so you can sort of identify the two.
Is the whole thing sung in German?
Yeah.
So what's German for 99 red balloons then?
99 Red Balloons.
Yeah, what's the German for it?
Well, it's in the song. Listen to it. You're supposed to be a language expert.
How do I know the bit when she's saying...
Well, hear the 99 bit.
No. There's no 90... What's 99 in German?
Can't you hear her singing it?
No. No, that didn't sound like 99 to me.
There's a flug in there somewhere. Flug is air, isn't it?
It sounds like 999, not 99.
That's how they say it.
9. 9 is no in German. Even I know that. So
Yeah.
it's no balloons. It's not 99 balloons at all. It's a great mystery soul.
Yeah.
It's no balloons.
Another great mystery soul.
Why is that song sung in German anyway? Why do they think it sounds better in German than English?
Because it's a German band.
Well, it may be a German band,
numpty.
but as the manager of ABBA, Stig Anderson, once pointed out, we actually decided when we started a music career to sing in English because there's more people in the world who understand English than understand Swedish.
But some people decide whether they want to sing in their own language, and then, like in this case, this was a big hit in Germany first, and then they did a translation into English.
Oh, did they? I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
Is that right? And who sung 9 million bicycles in Beijing?
Well, that wasn't a hit in China. It wasn't sung by anybody
No,
from China.
I know that, you fool. But why did they sing it about China anyway? There are 9 million bicycles in...
Because it's the only
was
place...
it Beijing or was it Peking? I can't remember what it was in those days.
I think it was Beijing, because it's the only place where there are 9 million bicycles.
Well, I suppose so, yeah.
There's not much point singing the 9 million bicycles in Barnsley, is it?
No,
Because there won't be.
No, but I bet you there are more than 9 million bicycles in Holland. Okay, smart ass.
Oh.
In the Netherlands.
The Netherlands.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about...
yeah.
You've now lost the plot
No, it'd be
completely.
like this. There are 9 million bikes in the Netherlands. There are 9 million bikes in the Netherlands.
Since we're on the subject of linguistics, of which no doubt you are an expert, you're worried about this kind of the creeping prejudice of regional accents, aren't you?
Well, a little bit. I mean, you know, we had the lad on before. He was a Liverpool fan from Liverpool.
Yes.
Now, he wouldn't get a job in the civil service in London, would he?
Well, he might do.
No, he wouldn't.
But don't worry, because they'll move the civil service to Liverpool, give him a job there.
Well, they have moved some of the civil service to Liverpool, but they wouldn't. But here, let me read you this report. I pick up on these reports because I have to be socially aware in my own country. People with regional accents need to be protected from discriminatory accentism in the workplace, an academic has claimed. Manchester University linguist Dr. Alex Baratta said the practice should be... Baratta, B-A-R-A-T-T-A. Sounds like a... He sounds like a...
Sounds Italian, that.
No, he also sounds like a scooter, doesn't he? The Beretta.
No, Beretta's a gun, isn't it?
No, the Beretta was oh yeah, Beretta's a gun.
Beretta's
That's
a
right.
gun.
What was the scooter called? The Italian scooter.
That was a Lambretta.
Lambretta.
You don't want to mistake those two. Excuse me, I'd like to buy a Beretta, please. Next thing you know, the flying squad will be round the scooter shop. Why are you coming here for a gun for?
Hey, incidentally, by the way, we played a clip from that song before. You know, the Sweeney's going nowhere because they've got no one to... What's it called?
Kill for Cats by Squeeze.
School for Cats by Squeeze. You know, the Indians...
Do you know I've got a pink 12-inch record of that.
Could be worth quite a lot, that, because I
Yeah.
saw that Valuable Old Records
Pink vinyl.
are growing in... Anyway, so the Indians send signals from the rock above the pass, and then the next verse starts, the Sweeney's going nowhere because they've got nowhere to go. What is it? Or
Something like that,
Something like that, yeah. Do you know that they're closing down the flying squad? Because, of course, the Sweeney is Sweeney Todd, flying squad, made famous by the great TV series. John Thor and...
Dennis Waterman.
And Dennis Waterman, thank you, yeah, you know, and
Well, all they seemed to do was smoke and drink whiskey and beat people up.
Yeah, and pull barmaids.
Which actually was
and all
entirely
that.
what the Sweeney was like.
Exactly, fantastic. And roar around in Ford Consols, Ford Granadas and
Yeah.
Ford Cortinas. But they're closing
Shut
down.
it, son, you're nicked. and all
Yeah,
that.
you get your trousers on your knee. We're the Sweeney, and we haven't had any dinner. Oh, there you go, yeah. It's great, isn't it?
How did you get from regional accents to this?
Well, because I'm going to tell you in a minute. So, because you mentioned Beretta and Lambretta and the Sweeney coming round if he had a Beretta pistol.
Yes.
But they're closing down because there's no bank robberies anymore. And they were formed originally to stop bank robberies, but there aren't any bank
well,
robberies.
surely the Flying Squad are now involved in like counter-terror measures and all that kind of thing, aren't they?
I mean, you've got the right drift of things. Bank robberies are now all done on computer screens.
Yeah.
They're not done by drilling holes through
Like
walls in
Ocean's 11.
cellars. And that's right.
Although
yeah.
they did a bit of both, I suppose, didn't they?
Anyway, listen, the regional thing. Manchester University linguist Dr. Alex Baratta said the practice should be tarred with the same negative connotations as racism and sexism. He found that 1 in 3 workers feel like a fraud when they have to modify their accents in the office, and has called for employers to state in writing that job applicants' accents will not be held against
Have
them.
you ever modified your accent?
Well, my accent's never really changed, actually. I had a
Because, you know,
beautiful
people
accent when I
always
was a
used to say-
child.
People always said to me, though, that I mean, and you may take offence to this, I hope you
Yeah,
don't,
yeah.
that at times, and I know this might be because you spent time working in Birmingham, that your accent sounds more kind of Midlands than it does sort of Liverpudlian or Cheshire.
I've had that comment, levelled against me several times, and in fact, I don't really care because I'm not a Scouser anyway, so I don't try to be a Scouser. You know, I don't. I mean, funny thing is, when you were 14 and you lived where I live, and you were brought up in Chester, and you're an Everton fan.
Yeah.
Every time you're over to Liverpool, your accent went like to that,
Yeah.
Going to Everton, like, you know what I mean? Like, you sound like Ian Rush or Wayne Rooney or something like that, because you wanted to sound like that, you know what I mean? Because it make you feel harder, you were hard and all that kind of stuff. And I went to a Derek Grant grammar school where everybody spoke dead posh. So to intimidate them, I'd get up to them and say, hey, lad, if you upset me again, you're going through that wall, all right?
And if you
things
spoke like
that
that in Liverpool today,
yeah.
you probably would be put up against the wall.
Yeah, probably would, yeah. But anyway, the point of my story is that that's what that report says, okay? So, if you're but don't
Do
you
you think that the prejudice works the other way, though, as well?
Well, I think it
because, for
does.
example, if you were to go to Liverpool and work and you had an accent like mine, that might make things difficult as well.
Well, what I don't understand about the report is that we all know that actually broadcasting organisations, maybe including our own here at TalkSport, have no problem with regional accents whatsoever, and in fact sometimes encourage them to bring a local flavour to what's going on.
Or to very certainly not to try to sound like it's a very London-centric situation.
Well, this is absolutely right. I mean, Adrian Childs sounds like a Brummie.
Yeah.
In fact, he's from the back country. He's from West Brom, isn't he? West Brom fan. So, to most people, Black Country and a Brummie is the same thing, except you wouldn't say that to
And we have Ian Danter for that, don't we?
yeah, he's Birmingham, isn't he? Yeah. And Charles is sort of Black Country. Now, the point is, I've noticed over the last few years that the BBC in particular, in order to sort of stop being accused of being
London-centric.
Yeah, Thames Estuary accent, is it called?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So, for instance, they've just had a bit of a shake-up, and an old mate of mine, Tony Livesey, who used to edit sports newspapers in Manchester, where he comes from, has now got a bigger role on part of their broadcasting schedule, and he's got a great northern accent, you know what I mean? And so I think they've always...
it's less important now than it was.
Well, I think it's less important, and also I noticed that when you see these people reviewing papers on TV programmes and all this kind of stuff in the mornings, a lot of them are very regional. A lot of them are, from, Glasgow and Newcastle and all that kind of stuff.
You don't hear that many Newcastle accents, actually, do you?
Well, there aren't a lot of people who come out of Newcastle and do that sort of thing. Do you know what? When I worked in Newcastle, mate, it was amazing. I worked on the Evening Chronicle there for about a year. And I found that the loyalty to the region was so strong that hardly anybody who I mixed with there, who was a born and bred Geordie, ever wanted to leave. They'd say things like, Michael, you should come and stay here forever. This is God's own country, son, and you will love it. And I'm never
you've
moving
often
away.
said that you've wanted to, when you
I probably will.
decide to retire, you're going to go and live up in Northumberland, haven't you?
I think it's a great part of the world, and they'd say, It's wonderful up here, mate. I don't know why you'd ever want to go south of the Tees again. You know, when you can come here and live here and we all love you and all that kind of stuff. Because they talk to me, the Geordie people, you know, as people do.
Well, they're very friendly people.
Yeah, very friendly people. And
I presume you don't try and talk back to them in their accent.
Well, no, of course you don't. Of course you don't, because then you're a fraud, aren't you? You know what I mean?
Well, you wouldn't want to be accused of that.
No, of course I wouldn't be accused of being a fraud. But, I mean, what I'm saying is that I just don't get that. I don't think accentism is...
But do you think, how about this, right?
I think it's really wrong to equate it with sexism and racism.
I think so too, but do you not also think that there are certain people who go around it the other way and they try and sort of put on more of a northern accent when they come, say, down to London?
Yeah, maybe.
Because there's this whole kind of, you know, faux working class thing going on, where they'll kind of make out that, you know, they're really hard working and they're salt of the earth type people, but actually it turns out that they don't have that accent at all.
You're terribly right. I know some people who come. Yeah, I know some people who come from, you know, fairly prosperous backgrounds, who've been to sort of public schools and all that. And it's all, hey up.
Yeah, well, this is exactly right.
I'm just going out for 5 minutes. I've just got to use the lavvy and
all that. Yeah.
You know, you know,
it's
you say
sort of snobbery in reverse.
Yeah, it is. You say, how you doing today? You know, oh, I'm in fine shape. You know, what do they say? How are you doing today? You know, oh, top notch or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is, in fact, something they've acquired, and it's not at all natural.
It is like the estuary English that a lot of people adopted in the 90s. You know, a lot of the bands that started up who were actually quite posh, and they wanted to sound as if they weren't.
Right.
They wanted to sound a bit harder, a bit like your thing about going to Everton.
Yeah.
And they'd suddenly try and sound like Cockneys. But actually,
Yeah, that's right,
you
yeah.
know, they went to Eton or something.
Yeah, that's right. There's a particular.
But I do think as well that this country is very, very snobbish about accents generally, though. I mean, you are judged by many things in this country. If you go to a party, or you go into a room, or you walk into a director's box or something like that, you're very much judged immediately by how you speak.
Could well be, but I also think there's an understanding in this country that people with northern accents, particularly Yorkshire accents or Lancashire accents, are seen to be much more approachable and friendly and actually nicer and cuddlier than people with southern accents. And I base that, for instance, on somebody like Bumble, okay?
Yeah.
David, what's his name?
Cricket guy.
Yeah, cricket guy. David Bumble, what's his surname?
Don't know.
Well, I mean, come on, you should know. He's a former England manager.
Yeah, I can't think of
former England captain.
Lloyd.
Somebody's going to tell me there. David Lloyd was the tennis player. We're talking here about David, anyway, he's a commentator.
I just know him as Bumble.
Yeah, Bumble, that's right. Now, he's got a fantastic accent. He comes from, see if I can do it, you know.
But Geoffrey Boycott has got a very pronounced Yorkshire accent. He's not approachable.
Geoffrey Boycott, a fantastic regional accent, but he's very regional, that kind of stuff.
David Lloyd is the right name, by the way.
David Lloyd.
I said Lloyd.
Oh, did you say Lloyd? Okay, yeah, fine, all right.
You don't listen to me, do you?
Yeah, I do. But I had an editor once called Larry Lamb, and in fact became a Knight of the Realm, Sir Larry Lamb. He came to the Express after he'd sort of started The Sun, and he was a little bit on his way out, with the greatest respect. He liked to drink, Larry.
He certainly did.
At about 10:30 in the morning. In fact, I know a bloke who nearly got fired because he turned down a whiskey from Larry at 10:30 in the morning. But anyway, the point of my story is, he had the most fantastic Yorkshire accent, and he'd invite you into his office and say, Mr. Barry, it's nice to see you. You will join me for a drop of refreshment, won't you, before we go off to the Savoy Grill for a spot of lunch?
Did he do any work, this guy?
No, not at all, because I've got a proposition to put you. I remember once, mate, he came over to New York, right? You might have even been at this lunch, you know, and he went to this restaurant on the seaport, remember, in Manhattan, and the wine menu was so expensive that they didn't put any prices by it, and it was voluminous. It was like the Manhattan telephone directory as it was in those days. And it was so expensive, they didn't bother putting any prices. They assumed that you were a connoisseur.
And also they assumed you didn't care how much it cost.
Yeah, exactly. So Larry sat down and said, right now, Mr. Barry, because I was a very senior member of his staff over in America, obviously, and US
You were not
editor.
a senior member of his staff.
I was the US editor.
Not at that point you weren't.
Well, I became the US editor, so I was clearly
later.
up and coming, you know what I mean?
There were 4 guys ahead of you otherwise.
And he said, now, Mr. Barry, I shall choose what we're going to eat. We told people at the table, but he decided he's going to choose. I shall choose what we're going to eat. I shall choose the sort of steaks that I require you to eat when you're in my company. And you, Mr. Barry, can choose the wine. And gave me the list.
That was a bad idea.
Oh, a terribly bad idea, because...
you go for the Blue Nun.
Well, no, the waiter came along, and the white that we had with the starter seemed to be okay. Now, when the steaks arrived... The waiter arrives with this bottle of red, you know, and Larry, you know, very obviously takes his little half-rimmed glasses out of his pocket, puts them on his and said, I can't really believe what I'm seeing, but I will examine this more carefully. The waiter showed him the label and he said, ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea what gave Mr. Barry the impression I wanted to wash my Volkswagen today, but I will ensure we get a decent wine with our steaks. And that cost me like a 12-month blip in my career.
I'm sure it did. That was where your career stopped.
Yeah, it did
You didn't
almost.
know which wine to get.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's absolutely true. So that was inverted
And what was
snobbery
the
for
wine
you.
that you got in the end?
I don't know. I've no idea. But
You
I
didn't
mean,
learn from that? You didn't decide to go and learn about red wine? You didn't decide to go and learn about which ones you should have got?
I was in a state of shock, wasn't I? Because I'd just seen my career go down the old gurgler.
Well, see, what
quite
you would have
rapidly.
see, if you'd been smart,
Yeah.
you should have
Yeah.
excused yourself immediately after that, nipped around the back and had a quick word with the sommelier. And
The
said,
wine
look,
waiter,
I'm in a
yeah.
bit of a bad place
Yeah.
here. What I need to do
Yeah.
is order the greatest wine that you've ever seen
Yeah,
in
it's
this
true.
restaurant to impress my boss.
It's true.
But you
That's-
didn't have the foresight to do that.
No, that is good
See, that's
thinking,
why,
actually.
see, that's why your career ended as swiftly as it did.
Yeah,
Because you didn't have
probably,
those diplomatic
Yeah,
skills.
no, it's true. That's true. That's
It's
true.
a sad story.
I'll remember next
Mike
time.
Porky Parry will be back, of course, on a Monday night right here with the two mics.